Hi everyone, please subscribe to my channel. Blood Immortal Venerable, see playlist for other chapters and novels. I do not translate the novels. Credits goes to original translator and author of the novel. I only make it as an audiobook so it would be easier to just listen while doing other things. Credits goes to the author of the novel. I convert stories to audiobook for mental health, for multitasking purpose, for accessibility and time saving. Listening to audiobook is also beneficial for people who have disability. It improves our listening skills and improve our English comprehension, vocabulary and other things. So, thank you for listening. Thank you and thank you very much for your support. Damn it. Yian-Wu swore as he lay down in midair. The Monkey King's Exuvi had driven Yian-Wu to his limits with their battles. Yian-Wu learned what true fatigue felt like for the first time after acquiring the characteristics of a giant demonic divine draconic body. He hadn't even experienced this when he fought the crawling chaos. The reality of wielding illusory change freely was not as simple as Yian-Wu had initially imagined. Designating an illusory domain within the physical world through his consciousness and transforming the nature of that space into something completely different was not an easy feat and required a huge use of mental energy. Furthermore, the greater the physical range or power of his illusory change, the more magic energy he had to use. As a result, Yian-Wu kept reaching a state of exhaustion after just reaching the third extreme, and when he reached the fourth extreme, he was already at the point of losing his mind. Yian-Wu could only marvel at the Monkey King's Exuvi, who reached the fifth extreme with only a slight hint of tiredness on his face. Fortunately, after so many battles, Yian-Wu acquired some level of proficiency in the 8 extremes of Sword Thunder. Meteor Sword Art, skill proficiency has risen dramatically and reached its maximum. New skills are being sought in consideration of your stats. You have gained a new realization related to the skill. Opening higher skills. The skill, 8 Extremes of Sword Thunder, is being opened. 8 Extremes of Sword Thunder. Number. Calculating. Proficiency. 5.2%. Description. A skill that has been reinterpreted and raised to a higher level by combining Meteor Sword Art with a new heavenly bracket. If the player achieves transcendence, the level of this skill will be comparable to those of the gods. Based on its usage, the skill may take on various interpretations and applications. Its explosive power and potential are great, as shown by its subjugation of many gods and demons. In addition, it is possible to strengthen the power output through illusory change a total of 8 times. Since the skill is not well known, there is little available information on the other characteristics of the skill at present. More data will be collected after further use. First extreme. Once one has mastered the 8 trigrams, the first extreme power, Heaven Thunder, increases the player's overall strength. The range of power and its effects vary according to the user's mind and magic power. Second extreme. Once one has mastered the 8 trigrams, the second extreme power, Swamp Thunder, increases. This is a legendary skill. No other skill like this exists in the tower, and it will be bound to its owner. It cannot be transferred or traded between players. This is still an incomplete skill. It may be upgraded to a power or divine authority. Complete the skill to make a superior skill of your own. The system opened a new window with a message indicating that Meteor Sword Art had evolved by at least one stage, and its name had changed to 8 Extremes of Sword Thunder. However, there was hardly any further information, likely because Yian-Wu had transformed an original, existing skill and confused the tower's system. However, Yian-Wu was pleased because he felt that he had advanced once again. After obtaining the revelations, he had gained the giant demonic divine dragon body and succeeded in defeating his most difficult opponent to date, the crawling chaos. Yian-Wu had been concerned about reaching a plateau, but he was happy to find out that there was another foothold for him to rise higher. I need to rest for a bit. The Monkey King's Exuvi had also advised him to take a moment to rest. Yian-Wu closed his eyes, and since he was still inside the illusory world formed through his consciousness, he felt his mental strength recovering at a faster rate than usual. However, as he was resting something heavy landed next to him. Yian-Wu opened his eyes to see a huge red pupil staring back at him. Open corner bracket. You sure look tired. Summer Queen. The Summer Queen was looking at him in her human form. Open corner bracket. I'm already a being without a physical body or a soul. I feel that it's ridiculous for you to call me by that name. The Summer Queen snorted lightly as she lay on the ground with a yawn. She looked like she was trying to nap and didn't care about Yian-Wu's presence. Yian-Wu was surprised and at a loss for words. When she was still alive, the Summer Queen had ruled over everyone tyrannically and viciously, not afraid to bare her teeth. Because of this, many people in the tower had lived in perpetual fear of her, which allowed her to rule the tower for hundreds of years. However, she completely changed once she gave up her position. Her arrogance was still there, but she seemed to have lost interest in everything. She grew so indifferent that she didn't show concern for any of the things she had achieved during her lifetime. However, this apathetic Summer Queen supposedly assisted the Monkey Kings exude polish and perfect the 8 extremes of Sword Thunder. It was hard for Yi and Wu to believe. Hey, I have a question for you. Open corner bracket. Why would I answer you? You don't have to. But, if you don't, zap. Yi and Wu gently raised his hands. Sword Thunder lightly hovered above his hand. I won't know where this thing will fly off to. Open corner bracket. I don't recall Heaven Wing being as rude as you are. How can twins be so different? Don't you guys share the same genes? The Summer Queen looked at Yi and Wu as though he were a bizarre creature. That's right, that guy has my personality. You didn't know. Open corner bracket. Don't joke around. You're much worse than he ever was. If you guys grew up in different environments, then I'd understand, but since mental development for humans usually happens within the first 20 years of their lives, you should have similar temperaments. I don't understand. Since you were both able to rise within the tower quickly, it's not like you two don't share the same characteristics. How did you come to that conclusion? What are you basing this on? Open corner bracket. Because I also have a twin. What? Yi and Wu had never even considered the possibility. The Summer Queen had a twin. Did that mean that the dragon race wasn't extinct? If there were another dragon, why had it not appeared yet? However, the Summer Queen seemed reluctant to answer his question and looked at Yi and Wu with only one eye open, as she rested her head on the ground. Open corner bracket. Didn't you say you wanted to ask me something? Hurry up, then, I'm getting sleepy. The 8 extremes of Sword Thunder. Why did you help the Monkey Kings exude make it? The 8 extremes of Sword Thunder was not simply a power boost for Sword Thunder using illusory change. It dismantled and recombined numerous concepts and magic theory that rolled like elaborate gears to open up a completely new area of science. There were many aspects of the skill that Yi and Wu could not even fathom. If he tried to compose a martial art similar to that of the 8 extremes of Sword Thunder, he would need a huge amount of time. This meant that the Summer Queen had shared a considerable amount of her knowledge and effort. Open corner bracket. You disturbed my sleep to ask me that. Such an impudent person. If I were still alive, I would have had you hang for such a stupid question. The Summer Queen replied, finally closing her eye. Open corner bracket. The reason hasn't changed. I want to see Alpharaon, who took away my people and family, flattened in your palm as soon as possible. I also want you to find Heaven Wing's soul and bring him back. Those are my only reasons. Haven't you already made peace with Jungwoo? I recall that he already forgave you. Open corner bracket. Yes, but apart from that, I want a resolution for all my past sins. To do that, I need you since I'm not in any state to do things myself. Yi and Wu once believed that the Summer Queen had gone through some emotional changes after meeting Jungwoo's spirit, but now, he suspected that there was another reason. Actually, is she in love with Jungwoo? Yeonu couldn't help smirking. His brother's relationships with women were very complicated, and he thought he ought to give Jungwoo a smack on the head if they met again. Open corner bracket. I observed your development and thought that a helping hand would be appropriate. But remember close corner bracket. When the Summer Queen opened her eyes again, her eyes seemed to be filled with anger. Open corner bracket. A dragon never forgets a grudge. If I ever have the chance to take your head, I won't hesitate at all. A smile spread across Yi and Wu's lips. Right, that's the Summer Queen I know. Things finally seemed normal with an aggressive and lofty Summer Queen instead of an indifferent, apathetic one. Without that personality, she wouldn't really be the Summer Queen. A corner of Yi and Wu's lips twisted up. If you can do it, try it. Any time. Open corner bracket. HMPH. Cheeky bastard. The Summer Queen closed her eyes and turned her head away as if she decided there was no point in speaking further. Not long afterward, after he'd recovered, Yi and Wu prepared to head back into the abyss. Open hollow corner bracket. Remember, if it's too tough in there, don't overdo it. Come out. Keep your consciousness up all the time, as well. The Monkey King's exude nagged Yi and Wu like a worried mother. Yi and Wu was speechless. Open hollow corner bracket. Why are you looking at me like that? The Monkey King's exude frowned as he realized that Yi and Wu was staring at him silently. Do you have anything else to say? Open hollow corner bracket. What? Yi and Wu pointed to his eyes. They were bruised, as if an overeager child had pummeled his face. The Monkey King's Exuvi laughed lightly before saying, "Open hollow corner bracket, a man shouldn't behave like that. If you trained well, then you shouldn't nurse any hard feelings." Yin Wu almost let go of some choice words that had risen to the tip of his tongue. "You dragged me around and trained me without my consent. Open hollow corner bracket also, did you ever consider how great of an honor it was to train with a great being like me? You should be proud. Yes, very proud." If he had to listen to the Monkey King's Exuvi any longer, Yin Wu felt that he'd explode from frustration, so he gave out a long sigh and prepared to descend into the abyss. The Monkey King's Exuvi followed along for a bit but soon stopped. If he went any further, he would be pulled in by the abyss, gravitational pull, and his existence would be consumed. Open hollow corner bracket, kid, stay safe. The Monkey King's Exuvi did not take his concerned eyes off Yin Wu until Yin Wu had disappeared into the abyss. As soon as Yin Wu entered the abyss, all his senses were disturbed. He felt imminent danger as he started to lose consciousness. However, once the casts of the Black King on his neck, arm, and leg started vibrating, he slowly opened his eyes and spread his consciousness out. Yin Wu had no way to confirm if his consciousness was operating properly in this disorienting environment, but assuming that it was, Yin Wu went ahead and applied the principles of 8 extremes of Sword Thunder to create a holy territory with illusory change. Crack. Then, he felt the world around him being torn apart. Whoosh, creak, key. He heard strange sounds coming from all around him as if something were crying out in surprise. Yin Wu had created his illusory world. Since he could see in this world, Yin Wu opened his draconic divine eyes. As soon as he did, he saw. What is this? He saw a strange world where countless round particles roamed around in a chaotic yet constant flow. Like the darkness in the depths of an ocean or the Black King's darkness, dark matter flowed without any rhyme or reason. Something moving along one of these chaotic currents made a bizarre sound that was so weak that Yin Wu initially thought it was coming from a particle. However, it had a familiar aura. A soul. It should have been too small to be a soul, yet it was definitely a soul. A newly conceived, a primitive life form that has not yet entered the reincarnation system. A living soul. They were completely different from the souls that Yin Wu held in his soul collection. The souls in his possession could only make noises to show their grudges, but these living souls circled around Yin Wu with childlike curiosity. Like fireflies or fairies. These were his first thoughts. The living souls touched Yin Wu's mouth lightly, laughing and whispering to each other. It seemed that they thought that Yin Wu could neither see nor recognize their presence. As a joke, Yin Wu tapped one of the living souls with his index finger. Ah! The living souls were startled and fled in all directions, surprised that he could see them. Yin Wu looked at them scurry off, then looked away with a smirk on his face. He peered into an area within the deepest recesses of the abyss, the place that his vibrating casts were leading him to. There was something there. It was possibly the location of the Black King's body. He needed to go there. Bam! Spreading his sky wings wide and using all his energy, Yin Wu started swimming towards the depths of the abyss. I've been moving for a while now, but there's no sign that I'm getting any closer. With his sky wings fully unfurled, Yin Wu swam in the void for a long time before he realized how much vaster the void was than he'd expected. If it were a normal stage, he would have already traversed from one end to the other and then some. However, he felt no sense of the distance diminishing at all. It was like walking to the moon from Earth. It was inevitable to feel like one was only walking in place and not making any noticeable progress. The void seemed to have no end in sight. However, thanks to his time difference skill, Yin Wu was able to gauge the flow of time, and it was evident that quite a bit of time had passed already. Am I wandering around the same place over and over? Yin Wu suddenly thought of the possibility that he was going the wrong way or even in circles. However, he did not feel that this was the case. Zing, zing, zing. Since the casts were still vibrating, Yin Wu had a feeling that he was going in the right direction. I've gone so far already. Will I be able to make it out later? Magic spells and abilities that were dependent on the tower's system and the natural laws of the outer world did not work in the void. Even if he could use them, the different laws and concepts that operated the void might bring unintended and unwanted results. Thus, Yin Wu had no choice but to depend on his physical abilities. If an unexpected event occurred in the void, he understood that he might face a precarious situation. In the end, the only thing he could rely on was the illusory barrier he had built. Yin Wu was glad he heeded the Monkey King Exuvi's advice, and he put his head down and sped up. Up until that moment, He had been vigilant about possible dangers in the void, so he hadn't hurried. However, he decided that he probably would not have to worry about those unknown factors anymore. Bam, 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 Yin Wu's magic power exploded in set intervals, which allowed him to advance farther into the void through each explosion's impact. Each time he did so, the void, gently flowing current would shake violently. As if they found what Yin Wu was doing immensely interesting, the living souls started to gather around Yin Wu like fireflies and soon formed a crowd around him. At first, they were afraid of approaching Yin Wu, who exuded a foreign aura, but as time passed, they got used to him and did not feel threatened by his presence. They did not seem to have any trouble moving around freely in the void, and no matter how fast Yin Wu moved, they kept pace easily. Thanks to the light they emitted, Yin Wu could see his immediate surroundings better. Furthermore, open hollow corner bracket master. These guys are right beside us. Shoo, go away, hey, ha ha ha, that tickles. At some point, Nike appeared on Yin Wu's back and was having fun with the souls. The living souls rode on Nike's beak and poked his feathers. Although Nike didn't express it, he was happy to have some friends to play with outside the Philosopher's Stone, which he hadn't left in a while. Whenever new living souls joined the group, Yin Wu used his consciousness to take note of the differences in their shapes and sizes. He's not here. Since his brother's soul was probably immersed in the Black King's darkness or the void, Yin Wu was hoping that he might find it. However, his hopes were quickly dashed. No miracle occurred, but that was probably to be expected. This space was where all souls were conceived and living spirits existed. The soul of his younger brother would not be here. In the end, it seemed that he would only learn something once he arrived at the place where the castes of the Black King pulled him to, perhaps where the body of the Black King might be located. Day 3. Yin Wu frowned while swimming in the void. Although he exerted his physical and mental strength tirelessly without rest for the past 3 days, he became annoyed at the unchanging scenery. No matter how much he pushed himself, there was no sign that he was getting closer to his destination. Day 5. Yin Wu was still concentrating on swimming. All he could see was the dark void. The number of living souls following him had increased, and it would have been helpful if he could communicate with the living souls. However, they were just like newborn babies, and they could not do anything other than instinctual behavior or low-level thinking. The most they could do was show curiosity or fear. He was thankful that he at least had Nike. Without Nike, Yin Wu would have probably already gone back. Of course, the time outside probably did not pass as quickly as it did in the void, but it was clear that he'd been inside for a while. Day 21. Yin Wu could feel the friction and pressure of the void gradually getting stronger. He also realized that the greater the pressure, the higher the chances of him being crushed. If he had not maintained his ego through illusory change, he might have already fallen into danger. Just as the Monkey King's Exuvi had warned, there was a limit to how long he could maintain his consciousness with only the castes of the Black King. Day 45. At some point, Yin Wu was beginning to consider abandoning further exploration. However, he could not bring himself to stop, even though he felt that it had been a waste of time to come down here. So, Yin Wu began to find other things to do apart from swimming. He started practicing the 8 extremes of Sword Thunder that the Monkey King's Exuvi had taught him. He had only developed up to the 3rd extreme, so he felt the need to master the higher-level extremes quickly. Furthermore, the more he advanced, the stronger his consciousness would become, which would allow him to better deal with the mounting pressure of the void. He had unexpectedly found the perfect training space. Yin Wu managed to establish a new goal while continuing his tedious journey. His greatest strength and weapon was to focus on training, which was also part of the fight that represented him. Day 162. Whoosh, whoosh. A strange noise began to come out from somewhere. The living souls made no sound, so it couldn't be them. It was a gloomy, dark sound that came from an unknown source. Yin Wu stopped swimming for a while and looked around, but he could not find anything. Yin Wu had already grown too lazy to even count the days. At least 2 years had already passed. Yin Wu was unaffected by the pressure that surrounded him, which had increased several times. He also grew accustomed to the strange sounds that occasionally emerged around him. He still couldn't figure out what it was, but he could tell that it was coming from the place the castes of the Black King were pulling him to. Is this sound coming from the Black King's body? Or is something else also in that location? Yin Wu narrowed his eyes and resumed his movement forward. The living souls he had encountered while swimming through the void were now almost completely gone. If he had to take a guess, Yianwu would probably say that around 5 years had passed. Even the living souls he would occasionally encounter were now nowhere to be found. Nike had long since returned to the Philosopher's Stone after growing bored. Yianwu was alone. The pressure had grown to the point of almost collapsing his illusory change barrier, but Yianwu continued training in the 8 extremes of Sword Thunder. Also, since he had so much time on his hands, he perused the revelations that he had stolen from the crawling chaos. Flash! All of a sudden, Yianwu could see a light leaking out from the dark bottom of the void. There's something there. Yianwu flew towards the light at full speed while spreading his sky wings. Thanks to his constant training, he had achieved tremendous growth from the time he'd first entered the void. Once he finally arrived at the source of the light, Yianwu instinctively used his sky wings to change direction and stop swimming forward. There was an unbelievable and majestic sight below him. It was a huge door that made him look as tiny as an insect. The murals on the door were very familiar. A holy mural just like one I saw in Olympus Treasury. However, the murals on the door were much more extensive and elaborate than those he'd seen at Olympus Treasury and the Temple of the King of the Underworld. They depicted an epic battle. Zeus dropping thunderbolts on a large shadow, Poseidon hurling tidal waves to keep the shadow in place, and Hades leading a corps of gods to confront the shadow. The murals took on different meanings depending on the point of view. From the point of view of Asgard, Zeus' place would be taken by Odin, the supreme god of Asgard. Vili would take Poseidon's part and Ve would take Hades. From the Chan sect's perspective, the gods Suiren, Fuxi, and Shenong would be the gods involved. Yianwu understood why the murals seemed to change according to point of view. A shared creation myth. Just as divine beings shared similar legends about hunting down Mother Earth in order to create new worlds, these murals shared similar themes. Even though it's more like the divine beings simply took the leftovers of the heavenly demons' battle with the Black King. Perhaps the people who drew the murals wanted to express that they had defeated the great existence beyond this door. Furthermore, the more believers shared these murals, the greater the number of people who believed in the myths would grow. In the end, the results would be tremendous. Of course, the various gods and demons probably did contribute something towards driving the shadow being into the void. It was only ridiculous that they would fight among themselves to gobble up all the glory. The holy murals lived on even after the being had been thrown deep into the void, telling a version of events that Yianwu hadn't heard before. The depictions were lifelike and vivid despite being abhorrent. Yianwu couldn't help feeling sympathy for the being who'd fallen into the deep void and raged with anger as his limbs were bound in chains. Yet, at the same time, the vivid depiction gave him chills. After the door was closed and the being was locked inside, many years passed. The murals showed the being suffering internal torment with bouts of anger and frustration before he finally fell asleep and assimilated into the darkness. Still, the being occasionally opened his eyes within the dark void. The last mural made Yianwu feel like he was being observed. The holy murals seemed to continue down the door, but Yianwu did not feel the need to look any further. Then, Yianwu's eyes narrowed. I need to figure out how to open this door. Of course, Yianwu was not unaware of the danger. He did not know much about the Black King except that he was the origin of death, darkness, and dreams, and that he was a holy being that existed long before the progenitor gods and conceptual gods were even born. He existed even before the creation of the world. If he woke up, the world might be thrown into chaos. The heavenly demon thought so he had work to leave the Black King in the void. However, for Yianwu, it didn't matter whether the Black King caused chaos or sought revenge. If anyone got hurt, it would most likely be the gods and demons who had backstabbed and shackled the Black King within the void. The Black King's presence could also summon the heavenly demon to appear and act. If the heavenly demon knew what I was planning to do, he wouldn't have let me go in the first place. Moreover, if Yianwu's theories were correct, it would be impossible for him to open this door by himself. If not, then there were plenty of people stronger than him who would have opened it already. The heavenly demon that Yianwu knew would have already opened the door by now. However, Yianwu still hoped to open the door, even just a tiny bit. Even a very small, minuscule gap would be enough. If he could not open the door, Yianwu wanted to at least communicate his intentions to the being who resided beyond it. There were a few things Yianwu wanted to ask. Where was Zhengwu? Why did he take Zhengwu's soul with him? And why did he give Yianwu this level of strength and take Yianwu as his successor? Actually, Yianwu did not need answers to all of these questions. If he could only hear the answer to the first question, he would have no regrets. How should I open it? However, Yi Wu couldn't think of a good method of opening the door, so he stood still and pondered for a while. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Yi Wu looked down at the vibrating castes of the Black King. After 5 years, he had grown used to its constant vibrating, but at the moment, he decided to channel his magic power to its maximum into the castes, just to see what would happen. Zing! The 3 castes rang out clearly at the same time. Crack, crack, the chains shot out and extended farther than ever before. They stretched into the pockets of the void nearby until Yi Wu felt them lock onto something. Yi Wu intuitively knew that the chains had connected to the Black King, who was presumably sleeping beyond the door, or at least, something related to him. Yi Wu started pulling the chains as hard as he could. The chains grew taut. Whatever the hell was beyond the door was immensely heavy. No matter how much divine power and magic powers he mobilized, Yi Wu could not make it budge. It was the same even when he fully deployed the illusory change that he had worked on while making his way into the void. What should? For a moment, something flashed through Yi Wu's mind. The power of the Monkey King's exuvi, which he had utilized to seal the crawling chaos. Ruyi Bang. As soon as Yi Wu had this thought, the Ruyi Bang pieces appeared around him, rotating and assembling into a black chain. Creak. It's opening. The door began to open slowly after he filled the pieces of Ruyi Bang with his will and consciousness, amplifying the Ruyi Bang's power. Beyond the door lurked darkness deeper than the void. Yi Wu's fiery golden eyes shone brightly. Open hollow corner bracket no. You shouldn't awaken him. Suddenly, an unfamiliar-looking hand popped out of the void where the chains had pierced through. Slowly, someone appeared in front of him. It was a girl holding a chain in one hand and a teddy bear in the other. Her appearance was incongruent with the atmosphere of this place. Although she had a cute appearance, Yi Wu instinctively felt danger and he guessed who the girl was. Another successor of the Black King. The head of the Sea of Time. As soon as he had this thought, bam! Yi Wu drew out his magic bayonet with his left hand and swung it at the girl. Yi Wu never thought that he would come face to face with the head of the Sea of Time in this place. Why is she here? Considering how difficult it was to come to this place, her sudden appearance out of nowhere seemed on the verge of absurdity. However, his bewilderment didn't make him hesitate to begin an onslaught of attacks. Clang, clang, clash. Yi Wu's opponent gently pushed away his bayonet attacks with ease, and they exchanged moves in a short time. Although she was small in stature, her attacks showed that she had immense power. Suddenly, her cute teddy bear jumped from her embrace and threw its paws at Yi Wu's head and feet. The punches did not look very menacing, but the strikes were filled with tremendous magic power. Yi Wu could even see space tremble from the disturbance that the magic power caused. Through his illusory change, Yi Wu summoned a sword that resembled Vigrid and raised it high. Clang! Yi Wu rode the impact of the strike to get some distance away from his opponent. He braced his sky wings against the ground to regain his balance. Yi Wu's eyes glowed with a golden light as he looked at his 2 attackers. The teddy bear did a somersault in the air and landed next to its master. For some reason, its unnecessarily cute appearance irked Yi Wu. Open hollow corner bracket attacking all out at our first meeting. You truly live up to your reputation as a rude, uncouth person. The head of the Sea of Time looked at Yi Wu and smiled, holding her teddy bear. She looked like a young girl in a gothic Lolita costume. Yi Wu thought that she probably had a terrible personality and an even more terrible hobby. Vroom, zing. However, Yi Wu's attention was focused on something else, the casts she had on her neck, left wrist, and right ankle. She even had chains around her forearm, all in the opposite location that he had. So, you're not human. Yi Wu recognized right away that she was a different species. She had used an advanced form of polymorph magic to create her current form, imbuing her will into an incarnation. Using his draconic divine eyes with his fiery golden eyes, Yi Wu could see an enormous figure crouching behind the blurry gothic Lolita incarnation. Although the figure was shrouded in darkness and he couldn't see its exact shape, its dragon scales shimmered with a reddish light, as large as those of Calidus. In an instant, the little girl's pupils turned vertical, the draconic eyes of the dragon race. Open hollow corner bracket my, what good eyesight you have. Now I'm starting to see why you gained his favor. Yi Wu did not answer her. He was trying to narrow down the potential candidates for his opponent's true identity. The dragon species definitely went extinct when the Summer Queen no. Yi Wu realized that there was still one dragon left. One that was not publicly known. I also have a twin. The Summer Queen had said in passing when they were talking about Jung Woo. She didn't go into any details, so Yian-Wu didn't know what the circumstances were. However, if she was telling the truth, that meant his current opponent was either the Summer Queen's twin or someone affiliated with the Summer Queen. Yian-Wu remembered something. Didn't Brahm also mention that he once had a relationship with a dragon? It was the reason Brahm had fallen from grace and descended to the lower floors in a relatively powerless incarnation. It had started out as a small game, but a dragon had made Brahm realize the feeling of true love. The dragon would later become Ananta's mother. No, Brahm said that his lover had already perished and left this world. However, Brahm had only heard the news of her death, and there was something fishy about the timing when considering the mass extinction of the dragons from the dragon massacre. Something felt off. There was no way such a powerful entity would have no effect on the world until now. Open hollow corner bracket. Where are my manners? I'm the only one speaking. As if she knew what Yian-Wu was thinking and was trying to stop him from thinking further, she wryly smiled and continued, open hollow corner bracket. Anyway, I commend you for coming this far. In the tower's long history, many people have tried to come here, but very few have come as close as you. However, you are not ready to go any further. Ready? What does that mean? Yian-Wu frowned. However, his opponent just smiled quietly and did not offer an answer. Crank. At that moment, Yian-Wu heard something turning. Creak, creak, boom. Suddenly, dozens of large chains protruded from the bottom of the huge door and started winding around it to completely enclose it. Thinking that he had to do something before it was too late, Yian-Wu prepared to spread his sky wings. Whoosh! Suddenly, the calm current flowing through the abyss fluctuated and forced Yian-Wu out of the area. He tried to hold on with all his might, but the current was much too strong. Open hollow corner bracket. More. From afar, Yian-Wu could feel her will like a fading echo. Open hollow corner bracket. Come back when you're more qualified, when you have the qualifications to face the Black King's darkness head-on. He hates it when someone unworthy visits him. Yian-Wu lost consciousness. Rumble. Open hollow corner bracket. As he discussed something with the Summer Queen, the Monkey King's Exuvi suddenly opened his eyes wide when the abyss beneath him began to shake. Open hollow corner bracket. He's coming back. Close hollow corner bracket. The Summer Queen said in a dry voice while observing the sight. As soon as she spoke, bam! A huge column of water rose from the abyss with an explosion. They could see Yian-Wu's lifeless body helplessly bouncing on top of the column. The Monkey King's Exuvi quickly stretched his hand to Yian-Wu and quickly pulled Yian-Wu down with his magic power. Open hollow corner bracket. Whoa! This bastard is no joke. I was wondering what he was doing inside the abyss for such a long time. I guess he did reach the bottom. The Monkey King's Exuvi exclaimed after sensing the strong thoughts and will that had followed Yian-Wu from the bottom of the abyss. Though he taught Yian-Wu the 8 extremes of Sword Thunder, the Monkey King's Exuvi thought that Yian-Wu would come back sooner than he actually did. It was impossible even for someone with a reasonably strong mind and willpower to dive in a place whose depth could not be measured. No matter how great a person was and how strong their sense of self, it was too difficult to survive alone for more than a year in a world where there was nothing. Nevertheless, Yian-Wu had done it. He had gone down without knowing how much time it would take, and the Monkey King's Exuvi could only exclaim at Yian-Wu's perseverance and achievement in reaching the depths of the abyss. Was he that desperate? Well, that's also why I like him. In fact, if Yian-Wu had been a wishy-washy type of guy, the Monkey King's Exuvi would not have been so proactive in helping Yian-Wu out. If it's this guy, yeah, he might be worth betting on. The Monkey King Exuvi's eyes lost focus as he considered his options. I might be able to free that poor guy from the curse left by his father's spirit. Open corner bracket. Did he meet Harmonia? The Summer Queen sniffed a familiar scent from Yian-Wu and quietly asked. Open hollow corner bracket. Harmonia. Open corner bracket. Yeah, there's someone with that name. The Summer Queen said nothing more. The Monkey King's Exuvi also did not inquire further. He knew she wouldn't provide any more information. Open hollow corner bracket. Anyway, what should we do about this guy? The Monkey King's Exuvi wrinkled his brow as he looked at the unconscious Yian-Wu's. Although he liked Yian-Wu, he did not want to take care of an invalid. Open corner bracket. What else can we do? The Summer Queen looked at the Monkey King's Exuvi as if he were asking something obvious. She then coolly added, open corner bracket. Throw him. Yian-Wu forced his eyes open. He felt as if he had been stuck in deep, murky water and had just surfaced to take his first sharp breath of air. Open hollow corner bracket. Have you regained consciousness? Valdebik looked down at Yian-Wu with blank eyes. Yian-Wu looked around while pressing his index fingers on his throbbing temples. It seemed he had returned to the outside world, to reality. However, the hidden stage looked completely different from when he'd first left. How much time has passed? Open hollow corner bracket 2 months. Fortunately, not much time has passed. The difference in the passage of time was the result of a completely different time flow between the world of unconscious and the real world. Open hollow corner bracket. In the meantime, we've completed the new temple and repaired the existing one that was already here. Right now, I'm working on purifying the traces of crawling chaos that have been left behind. Wu checked the messages piled up in a corner of his retina after hearing Valdebeach's words. A sacred temple has been built in your holy territory to honor you. Your will is being transmitted through your temples. The ominous auras that rejected you in your holy territories are being purified one after another. Your faithful believers are giving prayers and offerings to you in your temples. Secure more followers and lead them to your temples. The more followers you have and the more widely your temples are known, the larger your prestige will be. The sacred temple has been completed. The sacred temple is the place where you can convey your will. From now on, it will be possible to issue oracles. You have successfully accomplished all conditions of the scenario quest Proof of Gods and Kings 5. You have made an achievement that is not easily accomplished. Additional karma will be provided. You have acquired 150,000 karma. You have acquired 200,000 additional karma. You have been rewarded with. All conditions of the scenario quest Proof of Gods and Kings have been completed. Now that you have been reborn as a new giant god and king, many look at you with either admiration or vigilance. Your holy territory has been stabilized. As Wu read the messages, the faith transmitted through the temples in various places was automatically converted into divine power, washing away his throbbing headache. Open hollow corner bracket. Did something happen? Your expression looks bad. I ran over because there was a large disturbance in our magic defensive field. In response to Valdebeach's cautious questions, Wu solemnly nodded. Valdebeach. Open hollow corner bracket. Yeah. You seem to have managed the holy territory well while I was away. Can I leave this place under your care? Through the temples built across his territory, Wu could now look at the situation arising in various places as if he were looking at the back of his hand. The changes in his holy territory were not limited to temple construction. The ruins of the ancient giants, which had been torn down thousands of years ago, were restored. The wild foliage that almost covered the entire hidden stage had also been cleared. Wu could see newly developed farmland here and there. The villages where the otherworld gods once stayed had been enlarged and various buildings such as smitheries and storage facilities now stood there. In addition, each household seemed to possess a special aura of life. All of this meant that Valdebeach had led the other giants to transform the holy territory. The giants could now nurture this place, their hometown, and finally call it their home. Wu felt his help was not needed. Valdebeach's eyes slightly fluttered after hearing Wu's words, but his eyes grew determined, and he nodded confidently. Open hollow corner bracket. If you believe in me. I do. I believe in you. Thud. Valdebeach bowed as he went down on one knee. How could it not be thrilling to hear that his god and king believed in him? Then I'll leave this place to you. There are some urgent matters I need to attend to. Wu opened a blue portal that led to the tower's floors. Also, make sure to take time and advance through the tower's floors from time to time. I don't know when we might need to head up to the 77th floor. Open hollow corner bracket. All right. Valdebeach nodded heavily. Do you want to go to the 61st floor? Checking his channel, Wu found that Laputa was currently on the 66th floor. Wu was planning to catch up with Doyle first and discuss the countermeasures for the Sea of Time. I have to speak with Brahm as well. Swish. This is the 66th floor, the gate of the abandoned city. Trial. This city once enjoyed dazzling prosperity due to its advanced magic engineering knowledge and achievements. However, the city has since collapsed into ruins. A plague whose origins could not be identified took the lives of more than a third of the population during the imperial era, and the poor crop yields caused by abnormal climate changes plunged the survivors into poverty and starvation. Most perished. During these dire times, instead of saving the people, the imperial court locked up its storerooms of resources, indulged in a luxurious, hedonistic lifestyle, and collected heavier taxes from the struggling public. However, it was the invasion of a foreign race who had long hated the empire for enslaving them that sealed the empire's fate. As a result, the city, which once had a population of over 1 million, collapsed. However, during the mass evacuation, the imperial family and the city's general residents left many valuable objects behind, and treasure hunters sometimes visit the ancient city to obtain a piece of its legacy. You are part of this treasure hunting crowd. From this point forward, collect the necessary materials in this abandoned city to complete an artifact. The completed artifact and its legacy will be very useful for you when climbing the tower. This description makes the trial look so easy. Doyle shook his head as he looked at the window, sighing deeply. While Yi and Wu was gone, Arthea continued to steadily advance up the floors, reaching the latter half of the 60s. Currently, there was virtually no force in the tower that could oppose Arthea. Once White Dragon's leader, Waltz, suffered a defeat to Doyle, White Dragon's momentum was greatly weakened, and they remained relatively silent and dormant. Indeed, Arthea had acquired a nearly hegemonic rule over most of the tower. However, they faced an obstacle in an unexpected place, the 66th floor. The members of other large clans were high rankers who had already cleared up to the 70th floor as players. As a result, they could move easily from floor to floor. However, despite the strength of Arthea's leaders, they hadn't cleared as many floors as they could have since they were pulling the rest of the clan along. Even the members recognized that the clan's rise through the floors depended too much on their leader's achievement. That meant if Arthea's leaders encountered a serious obstacle, the clan's forward progress would come to a halt. The trial on the 66th floor was very simple on the surface. They had to combine hidden pieces located throughout the abandoned city to complete a useful artifact. However, it was taking up too much time. Their first hardship came in the form of various diseases and curses prevalent throughout the ruined city. Since the empire had succumbed to a plague, the disease remained in corners of the city, and they had to be on their guard. They also didn't know what type of traps would be activated in the process of obtaining the hidden pieces, and so often, they would end up with a variety of small quests. The ongoing attacks by the foreign race were also a problem. A number of high-ranking, intelligent monsters roamed everywhere. Whenever Arthea ran into a group of them, they were sometimes forced to retreat. However, the biggest problem was that it was not easy to create a useful artifact even after collecting many hidden pieces. One had to know how to use the hidden pieces properly, which required extensive knowledge in magic engineering. Combining the pieces together also required advanced engineering knowledge. It also did not make sense to go through all this trouble to make a shoddy artifact since it was an opportunity to obtain something beyond one's level. For this reason, the 66th floor was considered the most time-consuming floor among the floors in the 60s. Of course, the situation varied from person to person. In fact, Doyle had already finished the trial on the 66th floor. He had a different problem. Khan and Fant their wild cards. I can't believe I'm being pissed on by my own clan members. Khan was good at enchantments and thought he could quickly master magic engineering, but he soon found that he was actually weak in this field. Bian could directly be applied to martial arts, but Khan always mentioned that it wasn't the same for magic engineering. His convoluted explanations were completely incomprehensible to Doyle, but since Khan was obsessed with creating an overly complicated artifact, they were forced to spend an exorbitant amount of time on the floor. Fant was even worse. In all my time alive, I've never come across such a nutcase. No, wait. Fant is Kane's brother, so maybe I shouldn't be so rude. As soon as Doyle thought about Fant, tears started forming in his eyes, and he forced his rising anger down. It was impossible for anyone leading Arthea on Yi and Wu's behalf not to grow furious, especially when Doyle considered how much he had suffered in Fante's hands. Fant ran as wild as he pleased, tossing away any orders and ruining several clan strategies and plans in the process. Whenever he encountered a strong guy, he had to stop to fight and win. If he lost his temper over something, he wouldn't let go of his grudge until he felt it was resolved, which usually resulted in a shitshow. Thanks to this, many of Arthea's clan members were reluctant to move around with Fant. At least, his sister, Adora, was better. Although she wasn't that way with Yi and Wu, she was always cold and arrogant around the other clan members, which was why she'd received the nickname Demon Beauty. Even during the days of the tutorial, as was the case now, the Cheongram siblings had been known for shocking people. They had managed to obtain good results, and the clan had progressed relatively smoothly through the floors. Otherwise, there would have already been a lot of arguments and distress. Then, Fant had hit a wall on the 66th floor. Of course, Fant wasn't as much of a nutcase as Doyle grumbled. He wouldn't have been able to achieve so much if it were true. However, he was too picky. Other than martial arts, which Fant liked, he was hopeless in other matters. No matter how much effort he put into learning and mastering magic, he would never be able to achieve the standards he'd set. Also, Creation wasn't his strong suit, considering that his hobby was smashing things into smithereens. More than anything, Khan and Fant don't get along very well. Khan and Fant were always busy growling at each other whenever they were together. Khan was wary of Fant because of the rivalry they had during the tutorial, and Fant was annoyed when Khan, whom Fant had never paid much attention to, kept nipping at his heels whenever they met. Doyle could only let out a long sigh. If it were up to him, he would just leave them both. However, Doyle could not afford to abandon two of the most powerful members of the clan. Right now, they were probably off on their own harebrained adventures somewhere on the floor, and it was clear that their efforts would largely be in vain. Doyle wondered if they were participating in another strange competition with each other. Rumble. Huh. Doyle's eyes widened at the sudden earthquake that shook the stage. When he looked outside, a huge dust storm that was dozens meters in height was blowing towards his direction and devouring the abandoned city. What? Doyle wondered if Khan and Fant had had another fight. Open hollow corner bracket arg. What the hell's going on? Open hollow corner bracket my puzzle. I spent a hellish week putting together my puzzle. Who is it? Fuck, who the hell did this? Through the connection of the clan pairing, Doyle heard Khan and Fante's screams of frustration. The two were aware of how much their actions affected others, and they wouldn't have ruined the stage like this for everyone else. At that point, Doyle felt his channel with Yi and Wu strengthening. Swoosh. When the sandy tidal wave had almost completely covered the abandoned city and Laputa swept through, Doyle covered his mouth with his sleeve and coughed. The storm calmed down as if nothing ever happened. After removing the remaining clouds of dust with magic, Doyle saw Yi and Wu appear. Cough, cough, of course it's you, hung. Did I say I was coming? Yi and Wu cocked his head as Doyle greeted him without much surprise. Doyle nodded as though the answer were obvious. There's always nothing left when Hung passes by, right? Yi and Wu wondered how he should take Doyle's words. Was it good or bad? Yi and Wu decided that it was probably better not to know either way, so he coughed and changed the topic, pretending he didn't understand. Ahem. Anyway, what's the progress of my request? Are you talking about the Sea of Time? Yeah. Doyle shook his head. We've been doing our best to look for them ever since we received your instructions, but nothing substantial has come up. I don't understand why they're so hard to find. Even if we get a clue, it's usually a small one. It's taking us a lot of time to dig deeper. Yi and Wu nodded. If it had been easy to find the Sea of Time, the mysterious clan wouldn't have managed to hide themselves so well in the tower. Above all, a dragon was leading them. Before Arthea's rise, Red Dragon had dominated the tower, and it was clear that the Sea of Time had the potential to equal or even surpass Red Dragon. Still, we were able to confirm that some of them infiltrated our clan by joining in our ranks. They're among us. Yes, I don't know for sure, but I think they've entered quite deep into our ranks. Who are you suspicious about? I'm still checking. Is that so? Yi and Wu's eyes glittered brightly. Doyle was implying that the Sea of Time had been keeping tabs on Yi and Wu and Arthea's development for a long time. Moonchild, she spoke as if she knew me. But why are you so tenacious about finding the Sea of Time? I think they'll be our biggest obstacle when taking over the tower. Huh, really? Could the Sea of Time pull off what the 8 clans could not? Doyle's expression was one of disbelief. Yi and Wu turned away as he organized his thoughts. I need to go see Brahm. Swish. Yi and Wu opened a portal to a location to the outer district of the tower and walked in. Yi and Wu disappeared. Kane, that bastard, where is he? I was just putting on the finishing touches before he messed everything up and turned my artifact into dust. What are we going to do about this? Khan appeared in Laputa huffing and puffing. Ha ha ha. Doyle burst into laughter. Khan was covered in dust from head to toe like a mouse that had fallen into a dustbin. Bam. Soon after, something fell from the sky with a force and intent strong enough to destroy Laputa. A cacophony of shouts soon followed. Arg, darn that Kane, where are you? Come out now. Fant was just as animated as Khan. His scruffy appearance made it clear that he'd also suffered quite a bit from Yi and Wu's sandstorm. Khan and Fante's eyes met as they stood next to each other. What are you staring at? I got here first, you dumb bear. HMPH, you're too insignificant to even notice. Even your brain seems to have turned into a stupid hunk of muscle. The nerves in your eyes are shot as well. Do you want me to introduce you to a good doctor? What, asshole? Khan and Fant snapped at each other. SS's. Crackle, crackle. Their momentum and aura clashed and collided in the air. Doyle quickly shouted out, fearing that Laputa would be damaged if they fought. If you're looking for Kane Hung, he said he was going to see Brahm. As soon as Doyle finished speaking, Khan and Fant disappeared through their portals, still huffing and puffing. Flash, flash. When are they going to grow up? Phew, Doyle shook his head as he sighed. Stabbing in the back, what a fun song, musical note. Sesha leaned her back against the bed where Ananta lay as she hummed a song and drew a picture of a house, a garden and the sun on a piece of paper. She added Brahm, Ananta, Yi and Wu, and herself. Everyone was smiling. In a rocking chair across from Sesha, Brahm set his book down and looked at Sesha. He had never heard her hum the song before. That's such a weird song. Where did you learn that song? From Uncle Shannon. Shannon, the other day, when Yi and Wu visited the village, Sesha asked to see his spirit Gwai. She must have learned the weird song while hanging out with Shannon. Why did she have to learn a song like that? Brahm was just about to return to the book, thinking that he would have to give Shannon a piece of his mind later on, when... Boom, really, you're telling the truth, right? That's right, I can't miss my turn. If you're late, you'll be screwed, so hurry. Let's go. Suddenly, there was a loud commotion outside. Outside of designated areas, the One-Horned Tribe's village was a relatively quiet place, so Brahm looked out the window to see what was going on. Above a ridge in the distance, a column of sand rose with a loud noise. A small aftershock soon followed. Suddenly, Sesha sprinted to the window and burst into laughter. Uncle, I think Uncle is here. The One-Horned Tribe's men are running towards that direction. For the members of the tribe, Yi and Wu was like a popular restaurant that they liked to try whenever they had the opportunity. Sesha also knew that special events and uproar always followed her uncle. Oh dear, Brahm did not know whether to laugh or cry as a wry smile formed across his lips. Brahm burst into laughter as he looked at Yi and Wu, who sat across from him with an irritated expression. What's wrong? Why is your expression so sour? Brahm wasn't asking because he didn't know but because he rarely ever saw Yi and Wu's face like this, so he was making the most of this opportunity. Yi and Wu could read Brahm's thoughts, and his eyes narrowed. However, he sighed as he decided that nothing good could come from arguing with an old man. He ground his teeth from the rising anger and tears of injustice. I was seriously considering whether or not I should make the One-Horned Tribe go extinct. Really? Brahm's smile grew wider. He understood Yi and Wu's sentiment. After the news spread that Yi and Wu had arrived in the village, the members of the tribe threw everything they were doing down and rushed to find Yi and Wu, crowding around him for a chance to take a shot. The Martial King had previously hogged all of Yi and Wu's time in the past, and the rest of the One-Horned Tribe were determined not to lose their chance to fight Yi and Wu this time. They swarmed and began attacking without any warning. Unfortunately for Yi and Wu, he wasn't just facing 1 or 2 members but well over 100. He'd just come to visit Brahm, and this was like being struck by lightning. He couldn't just shrug them off since many of the challengers were very talented, and he was forced to beat them up one by one and try to knock them out. Whoa, yeah, this is it. For some reason, the guys were strangely fond of being beaten to a pulp. Hit me more. Whoa, man, get even tougher on me. Yes, that's it. The attackers would rush back into the fight after Yi and Wu knocked them around. The more Yi and Wu beat them up, the worse they grew, and they even started drooling like true perverts. Their deranged behavior was so creepy that Yi and Wu began to feel afraid. In the end, he had no choice but to spend an entire day beating up the One-Horned Tribe members. HMPH, we're also present. Are you not going to hang out with us older folks? After the initial wave of tribe members, the retired elders came looking for him. By this time, Yi and Wu had nearly lost his mind. It was only after this second wave of elders that Yi and Wu managed to escape and find Brahm. At this point, he had dark circles of fatigue under his eyes. Not too long ago, he was a man with a strong mind, strong enough to ridicule even the gods and demons and to swim deep in the abyss. He now realized why he strangely lost his strength whenever he visited the One-Horned Tribe's village. Yi and Wu let out a deep sigh and wiped his face with his hands. He had been caught off guard and intercepted in an unexpected place, but he shook it off because he had something to ask Brahm. You seem like you have a lot of things to say. Go ahead and ask away. It has to do with Ananta. Crack, Brahm snapped his fingers and quickly formed a barrier between them and the surrounding area. Even though Brahm had made sure to let Sesha play outside so that they could be completely alone, he made sure that they had complete privacy. Brahm's face hardened. Why are you bringing up Ananta all of a sudden? We could talk through clan pairing, but I came here because I thought it would be better to ask you directly. What the hell are you talking about? Don't make me wait, just tell me. Brahm's voice was slightly raised. Can you tell me who Ananta's mother was? Brahm frowned. What about her? It's really important. Yi and Wu explained the situation. He'd entered the depths of the abyss, but Moonchild had stopped him. Are you theorizing that Moonchild is Ananta's mother? I wanted to see if it was possible. It's true that she and I met after the dragon massacre. It's also true that she and Ismenios were the last surviving dragons. Yi and Wu's eyes widened slightly. Did Brahm mean that the Summer Queen's twin was his wife? It's also true that, unlike her sister, she hated going outside. She hid her existence for a long time. Unlike Ismenios, who sought domination, Ananta's mother pursued exploration. It was then that she and I, once I became indifferent to worldly affairs, came to be together. Brahm's voice wavered with emotion. However, she's dead because of that bastard Alpharone's curse. You're saying that she might still be alive? Don't joke around. For Brahm, who had lived with lifelong guilt towards Ananta and her mother, it was taboo to bring up anything related to either one of them. To him, Yi and Wu was implying that Ananta's biological mother was unscrupulous enough to abandon her child, and that he and her mother had neglected not only their child but also their granddaughter. Although Brahm had initially gotten to know Ananta's mother out of intellectual enjoyment, he cherished the precious memories he made with her, and he took offense at Yi and Wu's implication. However, Yi and Wu maintained his calm. You didn't see Ananta's birth mother die, did you? Are you going to keep up this line of questioning? Brahm finally got up from his seat and stared at Yi and Wu as if he would kill him. It was only after a long time had passed that Brahm sat back down. Plop. His expression was still dark. You think it's true? Why don't we try an experiment? Do you have any artifacts that she left behind? Yi and Wu was planning to use the summon of the dead skill. Brahm shook his head. I have none. Ananta may have something, but she probably doesn't remember where she hid it. As Yi and Wu pondered the next steps, Brahm suddenly remembered something and said, Ah. I know where she's buried. She used it as her lair and dungeon when she was still alive. Let's go there, then. You all right? Let's do it. Now that they were discussing the subject, Brahm thought that he could prove her death to Yi and Wu and demand an apology. Besides, Brahm suddenly felt a desire to use Yi and Wu's powers to share a moment, no matter how brief, with the woman he'd parted from without a single farewell. The two took a portal and entered an unknown dungeon. This is a hidden stage, unknown dungeon. Caution, you are entering a place where a transcendent being is buried. Curses and traps may exist in this area. Over here, they were in a laboratory filled with books and laboratory equipment. It was inside a cave large enough to accommodate thousands of people, and in its center was a small tomb. One of the few friends I have in the heavenly world told me of her passing. I don't think he would have lied. Yi and Wu rubbed his chin for a moment and looked around carefully. He pulled out a random book and activated his power. Summon of the Dead has been activated. Who do you want to summon? What was her name? Harmonia. Yi and Wu stated aloud in a firm voice, Harmonia. The being you are attempting to summon cannot be found. What? Brahm's eyes widened. He had a bewildered expression on his face. However, Yi and Wu nodded as if he'd been expecting this. He pulled out his magic bayonet and swung it hard at the tomb. Bang! It blew up with a thunderous sound, revealing that it was empty. She isn't here. Brahm was speechless. Harmonia is Moonchild you never knew. How is this? Brahm stuttered and trembled as he was overwhelmed by a sense of betrayal. Yi and Wu thought this was a natural reaction. The Sea of Time was filled with members who hid their identities. They were like cuckoos who entered nests and threw out the chicks in order to take over. It was impossible that the head of an organization like this would reveal her true identity even if she encountered Brahm. Can you leave it to me to find her? After a long silence, Brahm asked in a calm voice. However, his eyes were burning with a sense of betrayal. Do you have any ideas where to look? That let me find her myself and tell you. Please. Yi and Wu wanted to find Moonchild too, but he couldn't bring himself to suggest that they work together as he looked into Brahm's eyes. Brahm was clearly in tremendous shock. In the end, Yi and Wu had no choice but to nod. All right. Thank you. Keep this a secret from Sesha. All right, but are you okay? What do you mean? Brahm responded coldly as he pushed his hair back. Even though I'm not in my prime, I've regained my dignity and powers thanks to you. I will show you how I, Brahm, became one of the 3 gods who ruled the godly society Devas, and how the countless avatars that prayed to me made so many achievements and found salvation. Yi and Wu returned to the village alone. Brahm had quickly departed, leaving Yi and Wu wondering if he ought to pursue Brahm quietly. However, Brahm seemed so desperate that Yi and Wu could not muster the will to do it. Brahma was a being who once ruled the heavens. Although his powers had declined since then, Brahm's achievements and experience had not disappeared. Even Moonchild would have to take Brahm seriously. Of course, that doesn't mean I'm just going to wait around and twiddle my thumbs. Yi and Wu struggled over how he would break the news of Brahm's departure to Sesha. However, when he returned to Brahm's house, he found all the lights turned off, with Khan and Fant staring at him in the dark. Why were the two of them together? Did they suddenly resolve their differences while he was gone? Yi and Wu puzzled over this unexpected sight. You bastard, I'll have to take your position as hung back. Suddenly, Khan and Fant charged at Yi and Wu as if they had waited their whole lives for this moment. Khan layered various Bian while drawing his blood sword, and Fant acted like he was about to eat Yi and Wu whole while generating his blood lightning. Yi and Wu wondered what was going on for a brief moment before he thought, rebellion is an unforgivable crime. Yi and Wu raised his fist. Bam, bam. Damn it. Such a terrible guy, how did he get so much stronger? Khan and Fant sat next to each other, rubbing their swollen eyes with eggs and voicing their frustrations in disgruntled voices. They looked ridiculous to Yi and Wu. They had rebelled against their clan leader because he'd gotten in the way of their quest. How do I always get tangled up with these sorts of people? It never occurred to Yi and Wu that he might be in the wrong and that these situations occurred around him because of his own actions. Anyway, this works out, too. I had something to request of you too. What? Another request? Didn't you already tell us to focus on advancing up the floors? Yi and Wu raised his fists without saying a word to the disrespectful duo. Ahem, a request given by the clan leader himself. Of course, we will listen and obey your every command. What would you like us to do? Just say the word. Aren't I, Fant, your right-hand man? Say the word. I'll tear the heads off those bastards and bring them to you. Ha ha ha. Yi and Wu looked in exasperation at the two people who changed their stances so brazenly, but they returned his gaze with innocent expressions. Right, this was their true personality. Yi and Wu could not even muster up a laugh of exasperation at this point. However, Yi and Wu's request was unexpected. Rebel. What do you mean, rebel? Have you been sleeping wrong? They wondered what Yi and Wu was talking about. It seems that there are traitors in the clan. I'm planning to push them out into the light. Yi and Wu explained the plan to uncover the Sea of Time infiltrators within Arthea. Oh, this sounds fun. In fact, I feel like we've gathered a lot of idiots, so filtering the useless ones out might be necessary. But if we want to rebel, we need a good reason. Is there anything that we can use? Everyone in the world knows our relationship. Khan nodded at Fante's words. Most in the tower knew that they'd been friends with Yi and Wu ever since the tutorial. Of course, Yi and Wu had already anticipated this. You'll have to show that you're dissatisfied with me. Oh, indeed. And a good reason to be dissatisfied is getting beaten up for no good reason, right? Well, Khan and Fant nodded in agreement at first, but cocked their heads after Yi and Wu's words sank in. Something did not sound right to them. Then, when Yi and Wu smiled wickedly and began cracking his knuckles, Khan and Fant suddenly shouted urgently. Oh, come on, wait, arg, aren't you a civilized person? Let's discuss like civilized people. Why does it have to always be a fist? My fists, my choice. They were only setting up the foundation of the trap. It certainly wasn't because Yi and Wu was still holding on to a grudge about their attempt to ambush him. It definitely wasn't that. Boom. After finishing his discussions with Khan and Fant, Yi and Wu played with Sesha for a while before leaving the village in the evening. Of course, Yi and Wu was very careful to avoid the tribe members from noticing his departure. Those darn tribe members would inevitably clamor for more training sessions and force Yi and Wu to fight them all over again. Yi and Wu felt that it was unfortunate that he could not install a direct portal to the outside world since the village was protected by a barrier. Before leaving the village, Yi and Wu reflexively glanced back. For some reason, he had an uneasy feeling in his chest. The assassination plot. Faceless and his associates were somewhere planning the assassination. It seemed like an absurd idea. Now that they'd been pushed to their limits by Arthea, Faceless and his associates seemed to be making a foolish last stand. No matter how many guys they brought in, they would not be able to touch even a hair on the Martial King's head. That was how strong the Martial King was. Yi and Wu could guarantee that no matter how much one searched the heavens, it would be difficult to find anyone who was the Martial King's match. Even though I've grown so strong, I still can't tell how much I've caught up to master. The more powerful Yin Wu became, the more he understood the martial king's greatness. Yin Wu would consider himself lucky just to have the ability to handle the one-horned tribe, much less reach the martial king's level. As a result, when Yin Wu saw some information related to Faceless in the Chenggong library, and even when Doyle reported their movements, Yin Wu did not think much of it. However, it wasn't as though he didn't have some concerns. Faceless, a guy with the soul of the sword god, had a good idea of the martial king's strength. Yin Wu couldn't understand why he would have such a futile plan. Did he have something that would help him? Even if anything like that existed, Yin Wu still felt that the martial king would not be endangered. Still, Yin Wu couldn't shake off the uneasiness he felt. Psychic medium, do you know something? Yin Wu asked the psychic medium, who was watching him from somewhere. She could see the entire stage from wherever she was, and more importantly, she possessed eyes that could see into the future. Open hollow corner bracket. Of course, I do. Since it's related to my husband, don't you think I'd check it out? I see. All right. Assassinations were only successful if the target was unprepared instead of wary. It was only at that point that Yin Wu could leave the village with a light heart. Open hollow corner bracket. How cute. Even though he doesn't show it, he's really concerned for his master. He's exactly what I envisioned for a son-in-law. Don't you agree? The martial king had been sitting cross-legged in meditation when the psychic medium's voice rang in his ears, making him frown. Cute, my foot. He's more concerned about getting to a point where he'll be able to smack his master's face. Open hollow corner bracket. Isn't that the quality that made you interested in him? The martial king smirked. He did not reply, but the psychic medium knew that his silence meant he viewed Yin Wu positively. Before meeting Yin Wu, the martial king had had 2 disciples, but he had expelled and disowned both because they did not live up to his expectations. Since the martial king kept Yin Wu as a disciple, it meant he had high expectations. Furthermore, Yin Wu was progressing as well as he'd anticipated. In fact, Yin Wu had even exceeded his expectations. Yin Wu possessed wisdom, a fighting spirit, zeal, longing, an understanding of mutually beneficial acts, vengeance, a desire for domination, and a temper. Due to this, the martial king could not help but feel a little sorry for Yin Wu. Open hollow corner bracket. Are you really not going to tell him? Yeah, he already has a lot to do, so I don't want to concern him further. It's not like predictions are always correct. Absolute death. So, I'm definitely going to die. The thought that he may not see how far his disciple would go, how much he would achieve in looking at the fortune that he had just picked. Tisk. The martial king lightly clucked his tongue. At some point, a strange rumor started circulating within the tower. Khan and Fant have formed their own factions. Arthia normally operated with an unusual structure. Yin Wu, the clan leader, and a small number of elites formed the core leadership. Several affiliated organizations were connected to that core leadership like branches. Unlike the other large clans that possessed many strong members at their core, Arthia operated more like an oligarchy with a few people ruling over the majority. As a result, power was concentrated in those who were most active in conducting external activities for the clan, such as Khan and Fant. The two were responsible for many of Arthia's achievements, which allowed the clan to dominate the tower, and many affiliated organizations and players were naturally eager to impress these two clan members. Khan hated being tied down to something, and Fant had an uncompromising attitude that did not allow him to hide his contempt for the weak, which meant that they hadn't tried to create factions before. However, Khan had lately grown less active in the clan's activities and was beginning to hold meetings with various organizations and players within the clan. He met the clan heads of Arthia's affiliated organizations in person, developed friendships, and often hung out with other rankers. As a result, people gradually gathered around Khan, and his faction formed naturally, composed of influential people from various fields. On the other hand, Fant led several players through the main challenges of each floor together, and although he was always arrogant and looked down on others, he gained admirers who were enthusiastic about his macho attitude, and they began following him as though he were their master. Thus, Arthia was gradually divided into 2 factions. The free-spirited Khan's faction was called the Hawk faction, and those who followed the destructive Fant were referred to as the Tiger faction. Although the boundaries between the factions weren't entirely clear-cut, at some point, the confrontations between Khan and Fant began in earnest. They argued during clan discussions on how to suppress White Dragon and ended up in a sword fight. Fortunately, Doyle stepped in and stopped the fight from escalating. However, the two turned their backs to each other and said that they could not stand each other anymore. Since the two had always been at odds with each other, many of those concerned about the clan felt that the situation was like a powder keg that would explode at any moment. The two factions became wary of each other and began to mark out their boundaries. At some point, Khan began to confide in those closest to him about his dissatisfaction with Arthea. Fant is an idiot. In fact, isn't he just a babe in the woods with a silver spoon in his mouth who doesn't know anything about the world and rampages around thanks to the protection of his father? The clan leader often doesn't show up as well. That seems a bit too much. Arthea is a little too bloated. There are too many good-for-nothings within the clan. We need to thin out our ranks and reorganize. And the clan leader's personality? No one has to state anything further because we all know how bad his personality is. Initially, the members were scared about revealing their complaints, but as Khan continued to express his dissatisfaction, they grew bolder and more vocal. Little by little, they wriggled out from the absolute fear that Yin Wu induced and began to open their eyes to their desires. One by one. After time passed, Khan started receiving strange offers through shadowy sources. Please look favorably upon us in the future. If you ever need anything, just let us know. First, it started with bribes. Let's discuss the rights and interests of this floor. Soon, other requests started to come in, including ones that dealt with Arthea's secrets. In public, Khan pretended as if everything were normal, but, behind the scenes, he started leaking information. The plans to weed out internal insurgents sometimes ended in failure. Many of the clan members voiced their opinion that Khan had changed and was now a danger to the clan, but his position was so strong that their voices went mostly unheard. One day, a secret proposal suddenly came in. While organizing papers in his office alone in the late hours of the night, Khan quickly pulled out his blood sword as he felt something foreign around him. However, a shadow blade appeared under his chin before he could even take a defensive stance. Strong. Khan's expression hardened as he realized that his opponent was not to be taken lightly. Who are you? If his opponent had come to assassinate him, the blade would not have stopped where it did. Open hollow corner bracket. You're a thoughtful person, like I heard. It was the right decision to visit you instead of Fant. The wielder of the shadow blade bowed his head as he pulled back his weapon. Open hollow corner bracket. My name is Nark from the Crancia Merchant Alliance. Merchant Alliance? Khan snorted. The guy who had suddenly appeared in the dead of night and covered his face with a mask was claiming to be a merchant. Even a passing dog would laugh. Open hollow corner bracket. I know what you're thinking, but the fact that we're a merchant alliance doesn't change anything. Fine, a lowly merchant like you must have come for some reason. What kind of trade are you offering? Open hollow corner bracket. I want to purchase some information from you. Information? Open hollow corner bracket. Yes. I need information regarding Arthea's clan leader, the Shadow King. Khan's expression hardened. Why do you want information on that bad-tempered bastard? He hasn't done anything outside in a while. The masked intruder's eyes widened at the rude way Khan referred to his clan leader. It seemed like the rumors were true that Khan was greatly dissatisfied with his clan leader, the Shadow King. Open hollow corner bracket. Your sentiment is exactly the reason why I need the information. In the future, his movements will influence the tower's state of affairs. We believe he's preparing something during this time of inactivity, and our merchant alliance would like to know what the Shadow King is doing, even if it is just a small piece of information. Can you help us? I can't. Open hollow corner bracket. Phew. It seems like you're still wary of us, then close hollow corner bracket. No, I want to do as you asked, too. Open hollow corner bracket. The masked man tilted his head as though he did not understand Khan's meaning. It's because that bad-tempered bastard is watching all of this. The masked man was startled and tried to tear the portal scroll that he carried in his chest. Suddenly, something shot out of the masked man's shadow, smashed his spine, and pierced through his chest. Khan laughed as he watched the scene, and it was only then that the masked man realized that he had been acting all along. However, the masked man didn't have much longer to think. As the shadow moved again, it sliced off his head. Yin Wu appeared above the shadow and intercepted the soul of the masked man, which was just about to leave his body. Open corner bracket. Arg. Yin Wu started to burn the masked man's soul using his purgatory furnace skill. As the soul struggled in pain, it spit out various thoughts before deteriorating into a remnant soul that was sucked into Yin Wu's soul collection. What do you think? At Khan's question, Yin Wu shook his head. Khan lightly clucked his tongue. It's not them again. Damn it. Khan and Fante's subversion was part of Yi and Wu's plans to lure the Sea of Time to approach them. However, the Sea of Time was not taking the bait and continued to keep their heads low. In the meantime, Yi and Wu was able to enjoy some unexpected side benefits, such as finding out which of the clan members were dissatisfied with Arthea or which ones did not even deserve to be members. He'd also discovered some secret associations and organizations formed while avoiding Arthea's information network. Doyle had already created a blacklist. Doyle was planning on taking care of all of them in one fell swoop later on, but Yi and Wu was unhappy that the plan was taking so long since he had many other things to do. Besides that, Khan, who are you calling a bad-tempered bastard? Hey, I just said that to deceive him. As if he had already anticipated the question, Khan used a portal scroll and quickly slipped away. Yi and Wu frowned as he was left alone in the office. I guess I'll just have to observe a bit longer. He believed that the Sea of Time had already infiltrated deep into Arthea's ranks. Since it was virtually impossible to catch such infiltrators quickly, Yi and Wu decided to proceed calmly with the plan, no matter how impatient he felt. Besides, he had work to do in the meantime. Reclaim Tartarus. It was his turn to rescue the gods of Olympus, who were waiting for him somewhere below. Olympus was like a burden Yi and Wu always had to carry in his heart. Athena had always looked warmly on Jung Woo and Yi and Wu, and Hermes was like an older brother who had taken care of Yi and Wu from the beginning. Hades had guided Yi and Wu not only to find Jung Woo's soul but also walk the path of a god. Poseidon had been an enemy at first, but he had helped Yi and Wu in the end. Ares was a bit of a foolish character, but he still tried to appear admirable until the end. Although Yi and Wu hadn't spoken much to Apollo, Artemis, or Dionysus, they had been encouraging of his actions, and even though Hestia, Demeter, and others tried to block his path, Yi and Wu didn't feel too resentful of them. From the time that Yi and Wu entered the tower, he had always been deeply involved with Olympus. He had clashed against them occasionally, but they had still been his faithful allies. But now, they had been defeated in Tartarus and forced to retreat to Erebus, and they were even thinking of leaving the heavenly world. A few of them might have already left. Now that Yi and Wu had grown as powerful as he could and had a substantial group to back him up, he couldn't postpone recapturing Tartarus any longer. He couldn't enter Tartarus by himself, but he couldn't take Arthea with him since they needed to remain on the floors to find the Sea of Time. He couldn't force his giant army into Tartarus without any preparation, as well. The Titans and Gigantes have succeeded in ascending to Olympus. Since they've likely recovered most of their divinity, they'll be more powerful than ever. Furthermore, they had Mother Earth behind them. As the common enemy of all legends, she was an entity who could not be dismissed. And I need to be aware of the movements of the rest of the heavenly world. Although the Titans and Gigantes were blatantly working with Mother Earth, they hadn't received any sanctions from the societies of the heavenly world. It was clear that an underhanded exchange had been made that Yi and Wu didn't know about. Additionally, Yi and Wu had planted seeds of division among the societies in the hidden stage of the 60th floor. With this, my enemies and allies will be clearly differentiated. It's gonna be a rough fight in many ways. Yi and Wu needed to recapture Tartarus no matter what. Tartarus was Hades' holy territory. As someone who had succeeded to the throne of death, Yi and Wu couldn't recover all his divine authority without taking back the land. Most importantly, I won't be able to defeat Alpharon if I'm not able to defeat the Titans and Gigantes. Reclaiming Tartarus was a crucial event no less important than a colossal war. It's almost time. Yi and Wu looked up at the sky. It was guaranteed he'd clash against many of the gods and demons in Tartarus. Entering alone was like suicide. Fortunately, he knew some folks he could call his allies. At that moment, the sky began to shake. The godly society less than Chan sect greater than prepares to pay an exorbitant number of laws of causality. A descent is taking place. A descent is taking place. At the same time, rays of bright white light flashed above Laputa, and 2 bolts landed in front of Yi and Wu. The lights slowly took on human forms. One of them was Erlang Shen, whom Yi and Wu was already familiar with, and the other was a strange man with blazing red hair and an assortment of various weapons and artifacts on his person. He had a thick whip in his left arm and 3 swords hung from his belt. 2 long spears and a giant shield were strapped to his back. The thick bronze armor on his body was scratched, evidence of what he'd gone through, but it still had a certain aura. Under his helm were intense eyes that made whoever looked into them shiver. Yi and Wu instantly recognized him. Prince Nezha. The Chan sect enjoyed an era of prosperity under the guidance of the 3 leaders after the fall of the Yellow Emperor. Erlang Shen became the center of all policies and played a dominant role in leading the Chan sect. Thunderlord demonstrated his courage as a one-man army, and Prince Nezha. As you can tell by his royal title, Prince Nezha has a prominent position within the Chan sect. It's said that during the Yellow Emperor's rule, Prince Nezha was created to be then General Li Jing's son specifically for the war against the Jia sect. He is a human weapon made from pouring the most precious treasures and artifacts into the soul of an old hero. That is who Prince Nezha is. You're the child named .. I see. Prince Nezha scanned Yi and Wu all over as soon as they met and nodded heavily. While Erlang Shen was composed and quiet, Prince Nezha seemed to be bright and spirited. Even though he was known as a human weapon, he had a warm and relaxed air. Still, Yi and Wu could feel his skin tingling. This being he's strong. Prince Nezha heated the atmosphere just from his presence alone. Was it because of the energy of his many weapons or from his fighting spirit? Perhaps it was both. Yi and Wu's fingertips felt particularly tingly. Vimalasitra agrees with you and nods. He rubs his weapons with tingling fingers. Cernunos watches you quietly. Vimalasitra and Cernunos. Those prideful old farts have taken an interest in something. Oh ho! Prince Nezha exclaimed in astonishment at the gazes from above. Hundan watches the two gods of the heavenly world. Looks like the Jia sect is interested too. Even that recluse is here. Hundan, who had shown interest in Yi and Wu at the beginning before going silent for some time, had appeared. Prince Nezha adjusted his helm and looked at Yi and Wu in a different light. I suppose I'll have to be careful in many ways with this battle. Anyway, Prince Nezha smiled brightly and turned to Yi and Wu. If you look at me with those eyes, I'm going to start feeling competitive. At the same time, Prince Nezha pulled out one of the spears on his back, the fire-tipped spear. The red spear burst into flames as soon as Prince Nezha touched it. Yi and Wu reflexively pulled out his magic bayonet and got into a fighting stance. A sharp atmosphere passed between them, then Erlang Shen shouted with a furious expression, "What are you doing? You should be working together as allies, not fighting as soon as you meet." Prince Nezha grinned and put away his spear. Fighting? You still have a long way to go if that's what you call our excitement. That's why the people in our sect still find it difficult to be around you. Erlang Shen frowned at Prince Nezha's attitude, and then sighed, knowing he couldn't persuade Prince Nezha to act any differently. Still, he had no plans to send Prince Nezha back to the heavenly world. Frankly, he was the only one of the other two leaders who could hold a conversation. Thunderlord was a mischief maker who didn't listen at all. Erlang Shen gritted his teeth at the thought of how much he suffered to prevent Thunderlord from coming with them to the lower world. Now that their descent was complete, all they had to do was head over into Tartarus. However, even though Yi and Wu had put away his magic bayonet, he looked at the two with a frown of dissatisfaction on his face. This can't be all of the Chan sect's backup. Erlang Shen shook his head firmly. Of course not. There's no need for concern. The two of us descended first because of the laws of causality, but when the battle officially begins, more forces will arrive. Thunderlord is currently guiding them. The godly society less than Olympus greater than protests vehemently, saying this is interference in others' businesses. The godly society less than Chan sect greater than rejects their criticisms and says this is for their own alliance. A tense air passes between the two societies. Many societies of the heavenly world observe less than Olympus greater than and less than Chan sect greater than. Yi and Wu nodded. If the Chan sect was committed to helping him, the chances of victory against the Titans and Gigantes would be higher. Above all, his alliance with the Chan sect was proof that Yi and Wu and his army of the undead had been acknowledged as a new society. Then let's begin. Yi and Wu opened the portal to Tartarus. The godly society less than Malik greater than blesses your path. The demonic society less than L'infernal greater than encourages your battle. You have entered the hidden stage, Tartarus. The air flowing inside of Tartarus was significantly different from normal stages. However, it was also different from Hades, time, almost as though it were rejecting them. This is the holy territory of Typhon, god of less than Olympus greater than. The holy power flowing throughout the stage rejects your entrance. You attempt to force an entry. You have succeeded. The disturbance of the holy power will invalidate or weaken the blessings laid upon you. Your divine position is weakened as your entrance is not authorized. Your holy power is weakened as your entrance is not authorized. Some of the gazes from the outside have been blocked. As expected, Yi and Wu clucked his tongue, thinking there was nothing he could do. Invading the territories of other gods and demons was suicide. Since he had experience taking over the crawling chaos, holy territory and making it his own in order to eliminate several gods and demons. He knew the dangers too well. But if he didn't do this, he would have to ascend to the heavenly world and fight the titans and gigantes there to reclaim Tartarus. It was already too late for that. It won't be easy to get past Alpharon. Even if it's difficult, this is the only way. This would be different from the crawling chaos, who had only watched in amusement. This isn't ideal. Hostility surrounds us. It won't be an easy fight. Erlang Shen and Prince Nezha were surprised by the titans and gigantes, hostility towards Yi and Wu, and they couldn't help feeling worried that the fight would end in many casualties. Just then, the ashy gray sky began to quake. They're already here. Prince Nezha gripped his fire-tipped spear thinking the attacks had already begun. He seemed ready to activate the wind-fire wheels on his feet and fly up to the sky at any moment. Wait, Yi and Wu stopped him. Prince Nezha turned back questioningly, but Yi and Wu was quickly scanning through messages that had accumulated as he entered Tartarus. Agaras expresses his strong intent to descend and requests it of his society. The leader of less than l'infernal greater than says they have already used too many laws of causality recently and firmly rejects the request. Agaras says he doesn't understand why and aggressively protests. Baal ignores him. Agaras throws a tantrum. Baal ignores him. The other demons turn around and pretend they don't see Agaras. Agaras grinds his teeth. Agaras has temporarily left less than l'infernal greater than. The East Demon Army joyfully follows Agar's decision and leaves as well. A descent is taking place. That crazy bastard, Yi and Wu laughed in disbelief. Agaras had temporarily left his society in the past, but that was only with Baal's silent agreement. This time, Agaras was stubbornly insisting on having his way. Bam, 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 it seemed Agaras was still trying to descend, not caring about what would happen after. A black bolt fell to the ground. There's two. However, another bolt arrived. SSSSSSs. The black light faded, revealing Agaras in his childlike form, along with another being. A demon of less than Niflheim greater than, Fenrir, wags his tail, glad to see you again. Yi and Wu was bewildered. Why is he here? Agar's presence was understandable, but it didn't make sense that Fenrir would show up, as well. In fact, Yi and Wu couldn't understand why Fenrir was being so friendly. He didn't have a special relationship with Fenrir or Niflheim, the society Fenrir was affiliated with. Why are they? Did you call him? Erlang Shen's and Prince Nezha's eyes widened in confusion, and they turned to Yi and Wu. Erlang Shen seemed especially displeased. The fact that Yi and Wu allied himself with other societies without informing the Chan sect meant Yi and Wu didn't trust them. Furthermore, it could limit any authority the Chan sect held. It wasn't me. They came on their own initiative. Yi and Wu firmly shook his head. There was no need for misunderstanding. In the end, Erlang Shen just nodded doubtfully. Prince Nezha burst into laughter. Working with demons to fight gods. It's been a while since the boundary between gods and demons has blurred. Those geezers are going to be furious when they find out. Prince Nezha seemed amused by the situation. The godly societies were already having disputes with each other. The Chan sect and Olympus were a prime example, but Agaras and Fenrir's presence would only add to the turmoil. There's still a lot of talk about the revelations. Will the Heavenly World's alliance to battle Alpharon be postponed again? No one would have ever expected that a mere human could have such an impact on the Heavenly World. Yi and Wu hadn't just spilled fuel on a world already filled with distrust, he had also set fire to it. Prince Nezha could have chosen to be angry since he had been one of those who argued for an alliance of the Heavenly World to fight Alpharon, but his curiosity as a military god was even greater. He was amazed at the size of the fire that Yi and Wu had lit, and he was curious to see how much larger it would grow. Without any concern for the gods, Fenrir ran over on his adorable legs with Agaras sitting on his back. It was a cute sight, but only to those who weren't aware that they were actually a stalkerish demon and a monster wolf who swallowed gods. Woof! Fenrir looked at Yi and Wu and barked as his tail wagged. Agaras crossed his arms and arrogantly raised his chin. Open hollow corner bracket. I personally descended to help you again. You don't need to be too happy. It's a special favor I'm bestowing upon you. Yi and Wu was astonished and spoke coldly, with his eyes narrowed. I don't have anything to exchange with you guys this time. And I don't plan on searching for another society to ally myself with at the moment. Agaras laughed. Open hollow corner bracket. How funny. Didn't I already tell you? I came to help. You saw what happened through the messages, correct? I am a free spirit not held down by anything. I chose to step up and help you, so what is the problem? Yi and Wu knew that it was a waste of time to argue with Agaras and decided to ignore him. It was pointless trying to understand Agare's thoughts anyway. Instead, he turned to Fenrir with questioning eyes, as if he wanted to know what Fenrir was thinking. Fenrir probably wasn't acting recklessly like Agaras was. Woof! Fenrir barked. Agaras, still on Fenrir's back, looked at the wolf and said nonchalantly, "Open hollow corner bracket. He says Niflheim wants to work with you." Yi and Wu didn't understand why the two were acting together. Why did Fenrir keep on barking instead of talking, and why was Agaras translating for him as though this were perfectly normal behavior? "With me, why? Woof, woof, open hollow corner bracket. He says that privately, it's because his younger sister Hel has taken an interest in you." Close hollow corner bracket. Hel was a demon of death, which was why Yi and Wu had some kind of connection to her. Open hollow corner bracket. Officially, it's because you and the three Norns aren't on good terms. Ha, yes, I remember that. That was quite refreshing. He was talking about the time that Yi and Wu had antagonized Erd, the goddess of the past, on the 16th floor. Open hollow corner bracket. He says it's because the goddess of the future, Skuld, made a prophecy. A prophecy by Skuld. What had the three Norns said about Yi and Wu? Woof. At Fenrir's bark, Agare's eyes darkened. Open hollow corner bracket. Ragnarok will be with you. Yi and Wu was taken aback. Ragnarok was a great war at the world's end in the legends of both Asgard and Niflheim. But would it be with him? Something suddenly occurred to him. Since the end of the world also meant the death of the world, could it somehow be related to darkness? Open hollow corner bracket. But before that, you will be in the new age, he says. Yi and Wu didn't understand what he meant. New, or beginning, weren't words that matched darkness. But he was sure of one thing. Erd was obsessed with me because the three Norns saw something in me even though I didn't even have the strength of a rancor back then. There was another occurrence that he'd almost forgotten. When he'd first met Laplace on the 11th floor, Laplace had given him a message from a demon. "Were you the demon who told me to be careful of Erd?" Woof, woof, Fenrir barked brightly in confirmation. The temple of the king of the underworld was the main temple of Hades in Tartarus, but now it had become Typhon's. Whoosh! 3 columns of fire blazed, each one taking on a distinct shape. At the center and in the highest position was Persephone, to her right was Typhon, and to her left was Theia, who represented the Titans after Kronos' death. She was a goddess who once ruled over skies and was now stuck underground. This place was Typhon's holy territory, but Persephone didn't hide her higher status. She was an apostle of their great mother, Mother Earth, so it was no exaggeration to consider her the queen of the Titans and Gigantes. Since she was here on behalf of Mother Earth, she had the right to sit in the center while Theia, who sat in the lowest position, tried to contain her humiliation. Although Persephone and Typhon didn't possess legends as awe-inspiring as hers, she was little more than their servant. Of course, Persephone and Typhon knew what Theia was thinking, but they didn't care. To them, the Titans were creatures of the past and servants who could be used anytime like the protogonoi. Open hollow corner bracket. I don't have to tell the two of you why I'm here, do I? Persephone spoke with honorifics in a low voice. However, the immense holy power within her voice meant that each syllable she uttered bound the souls of Typhon and Theia tightly. It was evident that Persephone's true voice contained Mother Earth's holy power and acted as a means of controlling the two beings. Typhon nodded solemnly. Yi and Wu had foiled their plans multiple times and committed the sin of invading his holy territory. It was impossible for him not to know. Open hollow corner bracket. Mother wants to use this opportunity to take the successor to darkness into her hands. However, she's busy digesting the other societies at the moment, so it's hard for her to take action personally. I'm also busy moving according to her orders to draw attention away from her. After her connection with the crawling chaos was cut, Mother Earth was preparing to come out into the world again, a situation that was slowly brewing beneath the surface of the heavenly world. Open hollow corner bracket. I trust that the two of you will accomplish this mission. Her expectations of you, Typhon, are especially great. You must reclaim the throne of death, isn't that so? Typhon's expression hardened. He didn't know this mistake would be pointed out. He was supposed to take over Hades' divine position, the throne of death, and claim all of Hades' powers related to death and the authority of the underworld, Tartarus. However, at the moment, he only had part of these things. Open hollow corner bracket. Then, I'll be waiting. Swish. Persephone disappeared, taking Mother Earth's overflowing holy power along with her. Typhon and Theia remained in their positions for a while, an annoyed expression on Typhon's face. He rubbed his face with his hand. It wasn't the time to reveal any emotions. Mother cannot move right now. But it's for the best. I can take care of that rat bastard properly first. Typhon's eyes flashed dangerously. Since Yan Wu entered on his own 2 feet, Typhon wouldn't miss him this time, even if he had to abandon all the titans and gigantes he commanded. Even if they vanish here, they'll be reawakened by Mother someday. Death is defined by the rest of the world doesn't apply to us. Typhon turned to Thea with a cold voice. And the resistance? What happened to them? The suppression is almost complete, sir. Typhon's face twisted. I told you to take care of it a long time ago. What have you been doing all this time? Typhon had ascended to the heavenly world to help Persephone with Mother Earth's resurrection, and he'd left Tartarus to Thea and the Titans. Although they had driven out the gods of Olympus from Tartarus, there were still many resistors bothering them. To think the situation was still unresolved. The resistance would be of great help to Hades' successor, Yan Wu. They could also pave the way for the return of the gods of Olympus, who'd escaped to Erebus. They had to prevent this. Their leader was too strong. I apologize. Stupid bitch. Typhon glared at Thea with a vexed expression and stood. Where are they? I'll take care of it myself. Typhon planned on eliminating them before Yan Wu's party made contact with them, since Yan Wu and the others would have trouble moving due to the curse the holy territory placed on them. Swish. After learning where their location was from Thea, Typhon disappeared. He treated Thea with disdain the entire time, as though the Titans were decrepit beings who couldn't even be trusted to carry out orders properly. When Typhon was gone, Thea ground her teeth. Crack. Her clenched fists shook with fury. Helios. Yes, Mother. At the sound of her quiet voice, a man with long red hair appeared next to her. He was the old god of the sun and her child with her husband Hyperion. He was now a leader who commanded the few surviving Titans. For a moment, the fury vanished from her face. When she saw her son, the bitterness in her eased. What's the progress of our preparations? It's in its last stages. Is that so? Thea stroked her chin with a cruel smile. There was another reason why the Titans hadn't been able to subjugate the resistance. You know how cautious we must be with this. Of course, Mother. Yes. Please do your best. Only then will we Titans defeat those idiotic gigantes bastards and rise again. Thea's eyes flashed sharply. Kronos must be resurrected. Niflheim. Yan Wu was surprised that Niflheim had taken an interest in him. They didn't have much contact with each other, and with the exception of Hell, the demons of Niflheim hadn't given him much attention. Woof. Open hollow corner bracket. He says a lot of demons are still doubtful of you in Niflheim. Apparently, none question your ability, but few agree that you will be with Ragnarok. Woof. Woof. Open hollow corner bracket. Hell is the only demon who watched you, and Fenrir says he decided to descend personally to see for himself. And he says he felt anyway, that's what he said. HMPH. Fool. Even if you flatter Yan Wu, it doesn't change the fact that he's mine. Hey, let go. Fenrir bit Agaras even before Agaras finished translating his barking. Frowning, Agaras hit Fenrir's muzzle as Fenrir chomped tightly on Agar's leg with no intention of letting go. It appeared like a cute scene of a young child and a puppy fighting playfully, but because Yan Wu knew better, it just seemed repulsive to him. If he opened his truth-revealing fiery golden eyes, he would probably see a massive giant and a powerful man clashing with each other. I want to see that even less. Sometimes, ignorance was bliss. Anyway, I'm one with Ragnarok. I don't know what that end or darkness they're talking about is, but if Niflheim will be my ally, all the better for me. Niflheim was a large society, and Yan Wu was already at odds with Thor. Since it was too late to have good relations with Asgard, he needed to band together with Niflheim. But there's nothing I can give Niflheim with this war. Yan Wu didn't need to do anything for Agaras since the demon always did as he wished, but Yan Wu didn't have anything to trade with Niflheim. Woof. Woof. Open hollow corner bracket. Ow. He says as long as you stand on their side when Ragnarok happens. Let go now, you son of a bitch. Geez. Agar's face twisted further as he spoke. Fenrir nodded. I don't know what this Ragnarok is, but fine. I'll help Niflheim as long as this doesn't get in my way. An alliance has been forced between player .. and demonic society less than Niflheim greater than. Your alliance will be declared to the heavenly world. Many gods request you make your alliances more carefully. Many demons show curiosity about your alliance. The godly society less than Asgard greater than has declared their enmity for you after the alliance. Your nature becomes more evil. Your nature becomes more evil. The demonic society less than Jia sect greater than expresses concern about your alliance with the less than Chan sect greater than. They announced their neutrality. The godly society less than Chan sect greater than and less than Asgard greater than have enmity with each other after your new alliance. The demonic society less than Niflheim greater than and godly society less than Olympus greater than have enmity with each other after your new alliance. All relations are adjusted. Current relations. Allied forces. ### player. Chan sect godly. Niflheim demonic. Temporary aligned forces. Olympus godly. Asgard godly. Neutral. Malik godly. Infernal demonic. Jia sect demonic. Other societies have not declared their alliances and continue to observe. Your relations may change depending on the declarations of societies. A majority of gods look at your relations with displeased eyes. A majority of demons chuckle in amusement at your alliances. Vimalasitra is pleased with the imminent war. He feels satisfied by your actions. Cernunnos expresses concern about his apostle's safety. Open hollow corner bracket. What is this stupid chart? Agar's pretty face frowned as he looked at Yi and Wu's alliances. With his cute hand, he pounded Fenrir's back. Open hollow corner bracket. Me. I'm not on it. The East Demon Army has been added to your allied forces. Open hollow corner bracket. Yes. That's more like it. Agar nodded in satisfaction after seeing the message he desired. Yi and Wu and others looked at Agar in disbelief, but Agar just crossed his arms and sniffed. Open hollow corner bracket. What is it? Is there a problem? No. Ha ha ha. I've only heard rumors, but your indifference is truly amazing. As expected of the Duke of the East. Erlang Shen looked bewildered, but Prince Nezha just laughed, impressed that Agar didn't care what others thought and acted as he wished. Agar's nose pointed higher. Since he looked like a child, it almost seemed comical. Yi and Wu didn't even look in his direction, worried that it would only give him more headaches. An indifferent Grand Duke of the East. The beings of the heavenly world weren't in their right minds to think it was an appropriate description for Agar. Yi and Wu began to prioritize what he needed to get done in Tartarus. I need to raid the temple of the king of the underworld to find the stone of Castida's purity and open the door to Erebus, but the most important thing is to grasp the current situation in Tartarus. Yi and Wu thought that the Titans and Gigantes in Tartarus might have resistors among their ranks, considering how they'd acted even while Hades was in his prime. It was likely that the current rules of Olympus were having trouble ruling without a new hierarchy. He needed to target this, but there was just one problem. If there is a resistance, I need to know where they are. It's possible they're fighting without a common leader. Oh ho, more visitors. Open hollow corner bracket. Looks like they're coming over because they want to die. Ha, idiots. Woof, woof. Feeling the atmosphere shake, they all turned around. Rumble, boom, boom, boom. Open hollow corner bracket. Who dares sully our territory? As the sky quaked, dozens of titans descended, preceded by bolts of black lightning and followed by subordinates whose strength could crush most divine beings. Everything turned black, and an intense amount of pressure bore down on Yi and Wu's party. It was a debuff against trespassers. You have been afflicted with the curse, blind. You have been afflicted with the curse, magic power ceiling. You have been afflicted with the curse, holy power clashing. All stats decrease as a result of the large-scale debuff. All resistance decreases as a result of the large-scale debuff. Yi and Wu's party felt as though they were shrinking, and the world was rejecting them. Yi and Wu finally understood what the envoys had experienced when they took over the crawling chaos. Holy territory and their natural flow of holy power was bound. Although they were surrounded by kilometer-tall titans and there was no escape route, no one in the party seemed worried about their precarious situation. In fact, Agar only expressed his displeasure. Open hollow corner bracket. You idiots don't know your place. Even that bastard Typhon isn't a challenge, and you fools still dare get in my way. Agar shouted loudly enough to shake mountains as he released his aura at the same time. A gigantic whirlwind of demonic energy expanding without any limits. Crash! It was so destructive that the subordinates of the Titans were swept away before they could attack, and a few Titans even lost their limbs. Agar hadn't revealed his strength in the holy territory of the crawling chaos, but it was clear now that it surpassed the power of those in the heavenly world. The storm of demonic energy brushed away the debuffs and continued to expand, creating a raging tsunami. The last time I fought so freely like this was yes, back when Lucille caused a ruckus. Prince Nezha joyfully gripped his fire-tipped spear and activated the wind-fire wheels at his ankles to soar up to the sky. A titan-sized column of fire followed him, turning the ground over in his wake. It instantly turned into hell. Ha! How annoying! Erlang Shen pulled out the twin swords at his waist and planted them into the ground, ready to quickly end the fight with these small fish. Erlang Shen was a god who ruled over water, and water vapor gathered around him in the form of large water dragons. They plunged towards the titans. Crash! The fight officially began. Yin Wu activated the Philosopher's Stone and his dragon heart with a shout. Domain declaration. Shadows spread along the ground like ink, and the army of death, Dis Pluto, slowly rose from it. Each soldier wore black armor, and blue fire burned in their eye sockets. Their fighting spirit began to ring in the air. They had finally returned home, a place they had abandoned because they were once too weak. Dis Pluto expressed their murderous intent for the enemies who ruined the land they had cultivated with their blood and sweat. Most importantly, they were now stronger with the blessing of the throne of death. Their black blades glittered sharply. Lamb, open corner bracket yes, sir. The leader of Dis Pluto who had once been Hades, Apostle bowed. There wasn't a single trace of emotion in her voice, but Yin Wu didn't miss the malevolence it contained. This is the moment we have all been waiting for. If you get injured, you'll be demoted to Spirit Guai. Lamb lifted her head with surprised eyes and laughed when she saw Yin Wu grinning. Yin Wu's voice was arrogant, as if defeat wasn't even something he could imagine. However, this attitude seemed appropriate. She thought it was the attitude the new king of the underworld should have. Open corner bracket yes, sir. Lamb bowed smartly and turned to the soldiers. Open corner bracket we've come a long way and finally returned to our motherland. Let us fight. Her eyes blazed. Open corner bracket let us deliver victory to our god. Thud, thud, the commanders at the lead all thumped their spears on the ground. The rest of Dis Pluto followed their lead, creating a beat that made their non-existent hearts seem to thump again. Open corner bracket soldiers. Stomp, stomp, open corner bracket forward. Dis Pluto rushed forward. The army of death roared. Open hollow corner bracket you insignificant creatures. The Titans scoffed. Ever since they gained Kronos' holy power and increased in size, the Titans considered the soldiers of Dis Pluto as scum they could trample on easily. After Hades lost Kaini and a significant amount of his divinity, the might of Dis Pluto had taken a downturn. To the Titans, it seemed embarrassing to even say that Dis Pluto had once been well renowned in the heavenly world as soldiers of the underworld. It was ludicrous to see them return with their spears. Open hollow corner bracket you will all be squashed. The Titans lifted their feet, planning to crush Dis Pluto once and for all. Boom! The ground quaked as it cracked. Pieces of bedrock hurtled up from the impact that even most divine beings wouldn't be able to endure. However, the Titans' feet didn't even touch the ground. Doo-doo-doo. Under their feet, Dis Pluto had raised their shields as one to create a barrier. Open hollow corner bracket what is this? A Titan's foot trembled as he tried to move it. Flustered, he pressed down even more when the Dis Pluto soldiers around him turned into a black breeze that climbed up his leg. Foosh! The soldiers struck their spears into the Titan's flesh as they ran up his leg, the heat from the friction sparking into black-red flames. Open hollow corner bracket what ack? The Titan thrashed around to stop them, but the flames were already whipping around his calves at an incredible speed. Black holy power flowed out like blood from his injuries, turning the area into a mess. The scorched ground began to melt from the flood of black holy power, and black fog blossomed in the atmosphere, making the holy power leak endlessly. The flames pierced through his calves and gathered at his knee with a large explosion. Boom! Open hollow corner bracket ah! Flesh and bone dropped to the ground from the mutilated knee. The Titan screamed at his first experience of pain and fell back after losing his balance. Pew! Open corner bracket now, it's time to get his head. After Lamb's command, the barrier-forming Dis Pluto soldiers placed their shields on their back and raised their spears as they kicked off from the ground. Ghost horses appeared below them. The soldiers mounted the horses in midair to charge forward as a cavalry. They pointed their spears forward, assembled into a diamond-shaped formation, and charged forward. Doo-doo-doo. Rumble. Bigger explosions than before landed on the Titan's body. The greater the size, the larger the target. The black breeze and black-red flames lashed around the Titan's entire body. Open hollow corner bracket ah! 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 There was nothing the Titan could do. No matter how much he tried to fight back, the attacks continued mercilessly. He could only suffer. Open corner bracket did you think we would stay defeated? Swoosh! Lamb landed on the struggling Titan's forehead. Open corner bracket you probably didn't know the Titans would be reduced to this state, isn't that right? If you can experiment with Kronos to try to defeat us, wouldn't it make sense that we would study your new bodies in turn? We're not fools. Lamb looked into the eye that was larger than her body and smirked. The Titan's quivering pupil only contained one emotion, fear. Open corner bracket, and thanks to that, we learned something. Lamb burst into laughter. Just moments ago, the Titan had shouted about the insignificance of Pluto and mocked them. Now, he'd been reduced to this pathetic state. It was ironic. Open corner bracket, you might have greater divinities and physical strength after growing larger, but your powers have grown weaker. She recalled something from the past. Back when they had to leave Tartarus after Hades' death, Pluto had desperately prayed for salvation when the Titans and Gigantes ravaged the temple of the underworld. She could still clearly picture the black and red wings connecting heaven and earth. At the time, she had thought that if she ever returned, she would come with those wings. Open hollow corner bracket, no. Sensing his looming death, the Titan pleaded for mercy. Open corner bracket, if you become larger in size but don't fill up inside, as well, if you don't build up your accomplishments and lay a foundation, you Titans cannot defeat our God. Her eyes flashed under her helm as she swung her spear with all her might. Swoosh! The black-red flames blazing on the blade instantly cut off the Titan's head. Open hollow corner bracket crew. A sad cry rang out on the battlefield, echoing throughout Tartarus. Clatter! Tens of chains stretched out from the shadows on the ground, wrapping around the head and body and pulling them inside the shadows. Most divine beings didn't go through death, so the Titan would be trapped in the shadows and used as food. When the Titan completely disappeared in the shadows, the other Titans and their subordinates were shocked. Open hollow corner bracket, this is impossible. Open hollow corner bracket, how did this? They had already been surprised when Yi and Wu killed one of their own, but they never imagined that Pluto could kill and swallow them up. They were shocked beyond belief, and they realized that Pluto had regained the power of their glory days. It was as though the Titans were being shown the days when societies of the heavenly world shuddered at the mere utterance of Tartarus. It could only mean one thing. Open hollow corner bracket, he has reached Hades. One of the Titans shouted, stupefied, as he looked at Yi and Wu. It was impossible that Yi and Wu could take charge of the divine position that only higher divine beings could master. Even Typhon might not manage it, but he had done it. It's too late. Yi and Wu raised a corner of his mouth as if there were more things to come. Two black slits appeared behind his back, and Bu's blazing inferno sight appeared. Open corner bracket, death, come. At Bu's command, Shannon, Hanryong, Rebecca, and the others appeared. Massive magic circles appeared in the skies, raining down on the targets on the ground. Not to be outdone, Prince Nezha and Erlang Shen moved speedily, fire and tsunamis sweeping away the subordinates of the Titans. Roar! In another area, Fenrir had expanded into the size of a colossal wolf, and he ripped the arms and legs of the Titans with merciless howls. It's more boring than I thought it would be. Prince Nezha flung his fire-tipped spear into the eye of a Titan right in front of him. Seeing the flames burst through the gigantic eye and exit through the back of the Titan's head was exhilarating. However, the cries of the struggling Titan were too loud, and he uncoiled the red armillary sash around his left hand and swung it like a whip. Blue lighting appeared as the whip melted and slashed the Titan's left arm off. The universe ring floating around the Titan tore at the Titan's body. As befitting someone with the nickname, Moving Weapon, Prince Nezha effortlessly used multiple weapons at the same time as he blew away the Titans. However, the more skills he displayed, the more puzzled he grew. Was this the strongest defense? Olympus was a vast society in the heavenly world that not many others could compare to. The Titans and Gigantes were the victors of such a group, but even though they had the support of Mother Earth, their strength was only at the same level as the Chan sect. It didn't make sense that this was all they would send to stop Yi and Wu, especially since Agaras and Fenrir were here. Although the Titans had the advantage on the battlefield, Yi and Wu's party was clearly more powerful. Is there something else the Titans and Gigantes want? Prince Nezha threw the sword on his waist with a stiff expression. Bam, bam, bam. As soon as the thought occurred to him, the sky began to shake once more. Rumble! A bolt of golden lightning that was more powerful than anything that had appeared so far landed on Prince Nezha's head. Hup! He immediately crossed his fire-tipped spear with his sword to block the golden bolt. However, the power behind the lightning was so strong that it lacerated the muscles of his arm painfully, and he plummeted toward the ground. Boom! Nezha! Too late, Erlang Shen tried to turn to Prince Nezha. However, another bolt was falling on his own head, and he unleashed dozens of water dragons to block it. But the golden lighting tore through the water dragons and struck Erlang Shen. Clang! Erlang Shen crossed his twin swords and just managed to block the lighting. His feet left furrows in the ground as he was pushed back. Spark, spark, the golden lightning sparked dangerously as if it were about to attack Erlang any second. A face appeared among the sparks. The godly society, Asgard, has used a significant amount of laws of causality for a blessing. Thor has displayed his might as the god of thunder. Open hollow corner bracket. So, you wagged your tail like obedient dogs to get on a mere mortal's good side. The Yellow Emperor will be devastated when he finds out. Thor made his golden lighting spark again and struck down with Mjolnir, his holy artifact. The blessing from Asgard meant that his strength was immensely greater than normal. Typhon's holy power in the holy territory blesses Thor. The godly society less than Olympus greater than is with Thor. With the blessing of Typhon and Olympus, Thor was most likely as strong as a supreme divine being that was ranked Emperor. Boom. Thinking that it was too dangerous to face Thor directly, Erlang let Mjolnir pass by him and instantly folded space to put a distance in between them. However, Thor wasn't one to let him go. He hadn't forgotten the humiliation he'd endured in the crawling chaos, holy territory, and he couldn't forgive the Chan sect for turning their backs on the rest of the gods in order to appeal to a player. Bam! He was about to activate his power thunder step when Fenrir suddenly split through space, his sharp teeth ready to crush Thor's head. Next to Fenrir, Agaras condensed his storm of demonic energy and rained it down over Thor's head. The attacks seemed inescapable. Open hollow corner bracket. You're only hunting dogs. However, Thor scoffed and thrust Mjolnir into the ground. A cyclone of golden lightning blew Fenrir and the storm of demonic energy hundreds of meters away. After receiving blessings from both Asgard and Olympus at the same time, Thor seemed invincible. On the other hand, those fighting him had lost all their connections to outer channels. Their abilities didn't activate, and they couldn't use their holy power properly. Their strength was nearly halved, but that didn't mean their pride had grown weak as well. Open hollow corner bracket. You dare. Agaras, who was second to none when it came to pridefulness, was especially furious. He rolled in the sky and quickly regained his balance, pulling his demonic energy storm in. Cuckoo. Heaven and earth shook massively as the demonic energy storm began to gather in the air around Agaras. Lower. Agaras slammed his hand down and the condensed demonic energy storm exploded and spewed hundreds of black arrows. Foof. Each arrow was stuffed with demonic energy, containing a destructive power that could easily smash through space and dimensions. They could even destroy the beings' existences. Spark. However, Thor generated a large amount of lightning again and swung Mjolnir. Golden bolts webbed around him and flung away the black arrows as dozens of dense bolts shot from the sky to Agar's head. Open hollow corner bracket. Arg. Agar's face twisted and he spread his immense black wings, which almost covered the sky. As they tore through the heavy black clouds in the sky, Thor prepared to attack again. The ground rumbled from the lighting, preventing Prince Nezha, Erlang and Fenrir from approaching Thor, who was activating Lightning Path once more. Whoosh! It was a skill that temporarily transformed his body into lightning so that he could move at the speed of light to crush his opponents with a mighty force. Thor's target changed from Erlang to someone else, Yin Wu. Open hollow corner bracket. You rat. So this is where you were hiding. Thor smiled coldly, encircled by golden lightning. He generated more lightning than before with Mjolnir to pay back the humiliation that he'd suffered. Yin Wu had been studying Thor's fighting style with his draconic divine eyes and quickly released his strength. Sixth step Dragon Body Awakening. All powers have been released. Yin Wu brandished the magic bayonet with his scaly arm. Sword energy danced down the blade and sparkled ominously with a blackish-red color that clashed with the golden lightning. Bam, bam, bam. The first clash ended in Yin Wu's defeat. The golden bolts swept through the black-red waves and pushed Yin Wu back, leaving furrows in his wake. Open hollow corner bracket. I'll kill you. Seeing that Yin Wu was weaker than he expected, Thor stepped on Lightning Path again and closed the distance between them as he hurled Mjolnir. However, Yin Wu didn't seem too concerned even though he'd just been trounced in a battle of strength. He took a calm step forward and swung the magic bayonet up. Although his holy power was being restricted like Agaras and the others, he had a card that could turn the situation around. 8 Extremes of Sword Thunder. It was the technique the Monkey King's Exuvi created exclusively for him. Rumble. The magic bayonet released sword energy so intense it almost destroyed the blade. The sword energy blocked Thor's attacks and the besieged Thor. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Open hollow corner bracket. What? Thor's eyes widened in disbelief as Mjolnir was blown hundreds of meters away. His arm felt numb, and Mjolnir trembled like it would shatter at any moment. If it weren't for the blessings, Thor's arm would be destroyed by now. The area around Yi and Wu and Thor was devastated by the lightning. Thor couldn't understand what had happened. How did the mortal who had difficulty creating sword energy just moments ago manage to summon so much strength? Thor didn't know that the 8 extremes of sword thunder became more powerful when sword energy sparked on itself inside Yi and Wu's body. Instead, he believed that Yi and Wu had been hiding his strength all along, and he found Yi and Wu impossible to understand. And yet, things like this had happened before. A being had once tried to invade Asgard, and Thor kept the memories of this entity locked away, and yet Yi and Wu's image seemed to overlap with the intruder. Open hollow corner bracket impossible. Great S. Before Thor could even finish speaking, Yi and Wu had already activated Blink to appear right in front of him with the magic bayonet. 4th extreme. It was currently the most powerful level of the 8 extremes that Yi and Wu could use. Thor instinctively felt that retreat would be difficult, and there was only one thing he could do: face Yi and Wu directly. Thor still remembered the humiliation he and his companions had endured, and he resented Yi and Wu even more for reminding him of that entity. However, he tried to maintain his composure. As a god of war, he had to completely defeat his opponent, and he gripped Mjolnir. Spark, spark. When he pulled in all the blessings of Asgard and Olympus, the golden lightning turned into bright waves. Spark. Open angle bracket hammer of the thunder god close angle bracket. The power that Thor had once given Yi and Wu in the past when they were still friendly activated, and the world split apart. Boom. CHH. Golden waves in a black-red storm crashed into each other ferociously. Neither of the combatants were pushed back, and it seemed like they were on equal footing, but no, Yi and Wu prevailed. If his holy power weren't constrained so much, he would have won this easily. Crack. Cracks began to appear on the magic bayonet's blade, and it shattered. Phew, it was probably fated to happen. No matter how outstanding a blacksmith Heneva was, it was impossible for the magic bayonet to withstand a high-level divine being and hold a huge amount of energy at the same time. Also, it had already clashed with one of the strongest holy artifacts of Asgard, Mjolnir, several times. It was unfortunate that it had finally broken in the middle of Yi and Wu and Thor's fight. Yi and Wu had already exhausted his magic power, and the 4th extreme had taken a toll on him. He instantly felt dizzy from the sudden loss of control, and there was a ringing sound in his ears. Thor didn't miss his opportunity. Boom. At the last moment, Yi and Wu managed to pull himself together and pull out Karshina's dagger to fend off Mjolnir. Do-do-do. A massive column of light connected heaven and earth, and intense aftershocks rippled through a huge chunk of Tartarus at an extreme speed. SSS's. Karshina's dagger also cracked into pieces like the magic bayonet, turning into that scattered in the air. Yi and Wu had no weapons left. He would have used Vigrid, but there wasn't much he could give the demonism in exchange. I still don't understand why he took the crawling chaos, ego. At the time, he hadn't thought too much about it because it was impossible to know what the demonism was thinking, and he would gain the holy power in exchange. However, he still felt uneasy about it. He didn't want to use Vigrid without a safety mechanism in place. Open hollow corner bracket Kiki, you're overthinking things. What does any of it matter if you die here? This isn't the time to think. And your magic power won't recover like it usually does here. As if he had read Yi and Wu's thoughts, the demonism whispered in his ear. Yi and Wu's eyebrows furrowed. The demonism was right. The constraints on his holy power were slowing the recovery of his magic power. It would be suicide to continue to battle Thor. He couldn't stretch this fight out any longer. He needed to end it with overwhelming firepower quickly. In the distance, Thor already seemed to have healed, judging from the intense lighting he was generating once more. It was an unbelievable recovery rate. I have no other choice. Yi and Wu needed to bite into the apple despite knowing it was poisoned. Open hollow corner bracket, good call. Kikikik. The demonism's laughter bothered Yi and Wu. It seemed like he was going along with the demonism's plans, but Yi and Wu had no alternative. He opened up emptiness and loosened Vigrid's chains. And I need to uncover the item that the Titans and Gigantes are after. What was the reason they had left this battlefront to their lesser forces in Asgard? Why weren't they using their full strength? Were they aiming for something else? Or were they planning to send their forces out in waves? Or a battle on 2 fronts? Swish. He drew Vigrid out, and as he combined with the demonism, his consciousness expanded infinitely. His empty philosopher's stone and dragon heart filled up once more, and his exhausted body felt refreshed. Whoosh. A strength that was on par with that of the crawling chaos shook Tartarus just with its presence alone. Fortunately, the being's consciousness was closer to Yi and Wu's. The overwhelming power easily shrugged off the various constraints of the holy territory. Open hollow corner bracket impossible. Thor gritted his teeth at the aura of the creature that looked like Yi and Wu. It seemed to be on par with the power held by Odin, his father and Asgard's superior god. It was beyond belief. Even though Yi and Wu had borrowed the strength from some strange tool, could this really be the strength of a player? What would happen once he exuviated and transcended? It just didn't make sense. However, Thor quickly put his thoughts aside when he sensed Agaras and the others preparing to attack again. Those rogues. He gritted his teeth. He hadn't wanted to go this far, but he couldn't take care of everything on his own. He had no choice but to call for support. The godly society less than Asgard greater than sends their forces at Thor's request. Large portals opened for the allies of less than Olympus greater than. Countless large portals appeared in the sky, and the Asgardian soldiers who had been waiting behind them descended. At their vanguard were their greatest warriors, the Valkyrie and the soldiers of Valhalla. Pluto stopped battling the Titans briefly and looked up. Open corner bracket seems like more fun is coming. Don't you all agree? Lamb clenched her teeth as she looked at the Asgardian soldiers and raised a corner of her mouth. Her blue eyes flashed menacingly. As he looked at the battlefield, the thing that looked like Yi and Wu realized what his enemies were after. As the army of Titans and Gigantes attacking the base of the resistance. If Yi and Wu's guess was correct, he couldn't let things go as his enemies planned. The Titans and Gigantes had to be fighting the resistance if they were using their strongest forces, which meant that the resistors weren't weak. Perhaps they were even the gods of Olympus Yi and Wu was searching for. However, too many soldiers of Asgard were descending from the portals, as if they had come to eliminate Yi and Wu, no matter what. The thing similar to Yi and Wu couldn't contain his anger. Click, clatter. He released the chains wrapped around his right arm and fixed Vigrid at their end. A hidden true name of Vigrid, Harp is released. Folklore. Denying invincibility. Vigrid transformed into a death scythe with the release of its true name, and the chains began to swing around, stretching towards the portals. Boom, boom. Harp was bolstered by sword thunder, and it swept the arriving soldiers away. Open hollow corner bracket AC. Open hollow corner bracket W. What is this coup? After nearly 30% of soldiers were blown away in an instant, the gods following the warriors of Valhalla tried to block Harp. Clatter. Harp's chains moved freely between pockets of emptiness, making it impossible to anticipate its movements. Instead of facing the gods' attacks directly, Harp moved as nimbly as a killer whale in open water, retreating when it sensed danger and opening pockets of emptiness as it took advantage of blind spots to attack. Sword thunder flashed in the sky, emitting extreme heat. Clatter. There was an even bigger problem for the gods after that. Although they managed to evade Harp's lacerating attacks and entered the battlefield, soldiers newly risen from the shadows awaited them. SSSSS's. Open hollow corner bracket victory to our god. Valdebik and the 1,000 ghost giants that had awakened with him lifted their weapons high in the air with roars. The ghost giants were in high spirits ever since they'd erected a temple for Yi and Wu in their motherland and trained at every waking moment. They were now a force to be reckoned with. Asgard was aware of the giants' valor and grew wary as their worst fears came true. Open hollow corner bracket light. Be with us. They increased the speed of their descent at the command of the leader of the Asgardian forces, Baldur. The fight between the ghost giants and Asgard began, a clash between beings of the heavenly world and the descendants of giants that had been presumed extinct. Open hollow corner bracket. How dare you? Furious, Thor lifted Mjolnir and stepped on lightning path to push Yi and Wu back again. Boom. However, before he could even reach Yi and Wu, Prince Nezha stopped him in his tracks, blocking Mjolnir with his fire-tipped spear with a warm smile. However, the eyes over that smile were cold. He hadn't forgotten the humiliation of losing to Thor during their first clash. He's a busy guy, I'll play with you instead. Open hollow corner bracket move, you lowly being. Lowly being. Prince Nezha's eyes flashed dangerously. I'm usually treated pretty well wherever I go. My pride won't let me pretend I didn't hear that. Nope. Whoosh. Intense winds blew around Prince Nezha, and his bronze armor started to break into pieces. Crack. In an instant, he grew hundreds of meters tall, turning into a monster with 3 heads and 6 arms. Prince Nezha revealed his hidden true body. He had a different weapon in each hand that made him look even more threatening, and each of his heads had a different expression as they stared at Thor. Open hollow corner bracket. I didn't want to show this side of myself. Open hollow corner bracket, but you left me with no choice. Open hollow corner bracket this time, I'll ask if you are worthy of fighting here. The three mouths moved simultaneously as they released a mighty wave of energy. Thor struck the ground with Mjolnir, releasing his own energy wave with a stiff expression after realizing that Prince Nezha's true form was not inferior to his own. In the meantime, Prince Nezha's true body and his giant sword loomed above Thor's head. Crash! As Thor lifted Mjolnir to protect himself with golden lightning, Yi and Wu pulled the chains in and gripped harp. Clatter! Open hollow corner bracket Valdebek, Lamb. I'll leave this place to you. If the Titans and Gigantes were attempting a two-front war, he needed to stop it. After messaging his two subordinates, he quickly brought down harp and jumped into the emptiness that he'd opened. Swoosh! Yi and Wu reappeared in a location far from the battlefield, one of the holy territories he'd invaded when he fought with Hades and Dis Pluto long ago. He felt the Titan subordinates in this place running around, but he ignored them and closed his eyes, spreading his territory of recognition throughout the entire stage. If the Titans and Gigantes had taken their main forces somewhere to fight, they would be emitting extraordinary amounts of magic power. Sure enough, he discovered a location where abnormal amounts of magic power were being released. Swoosh! He opened emptiness once more to teleport to that area. The great battles he'd already experienced in Tartarus seemed to be playing out in front of his eyes. Typhon's eye, which was as large as a moon, stared down from the dark sky as he sent out divine punishments that turned the world blindingly bright. The Titans and Gigantes on the ground were attacking a massive fortress and the resistors defending it. A man who seemed to be the resistance leader stood out with his performance. He was larger than Fant, and he wasn't wearing any armor, only covering his torso with a lion's pelt. All he held in his hand was a wooden club, but with each swing, dozens of his opponents were sent flying and bleeding. With his extraordinary strength, he ripped apart the feet of Titans trying to enter the fortress. He was matchless. It wasn't an exaggeration to say he was pushing back the enemies on his own. However, he strangely didn't have much divinity, although his natural strength was fearsome enough to make up for what he lacked. Yi and Wu recognized him in an instant. Hercules, the king of the gods, Zeus, had created this great hero in order to win the Gigantomachia. Hercules had disappeared without a trace after the war and didn't even show up after Olympus' fall, but now, he appeared once more. Proving that he was worthy of his reputation, he tossed away Typhon's divine punishments as if they meant nothing and shouted something at the sky. Typhon's eye squinted, and it was clear they weren't exchanging pleasantries. The more Typhon's fury grew, the more intense the typhoon in the sky became. At that moment, one of the Titans extended his hand to the fortress. Cuckoo! He was so close and almost reached a soldier. Hercules realized what was going on and tried to move, but the Gigantes repeatedly spewed out more attacks, holding Hercules back. Just as Hercules was about to shout, "No!" chains lashed up from below and wrapped around the Titan's hand before he could reach the fortress. Clatter! Harp hacked off the Titan's arm. Crew! The Titan let out a sad cry that shook the entire holy territory as he stepped back. Black holy power spurted out like blood and rained on the ground. The soldier who had been awaiting his death gaped at the sudden salvation, his eyes wide when he saw the Titan's head roll on the ground. It was too unbelievable. The Titans had seemed like invincible creatures, but it was only the beginning. Clatter! Clatter! The faster Yi and Wu moved his chains, the more wildly Harp hacked away, mutilating everything it came across. Titan limbs fell to the ground like pieces of straw, filling the entire holy territory with black holy power. I changed it because it still doesn't make sense. Open hollow corner bracket U. Typhon realized the sudden change and quickly turned his eye to Yi and Wu. The fury in them was more intense than the one he had for Hercules. Yi and Wu was the one who had stolen the throne of death, a position that belonged to him. Yi and Wu had even intercepted the Elohim, whom Typhon had been trying to use to spread his influence to the floors. It was Asgard's responsibility to deal with Yi and Wu, according to their plan. Open hollow corner bracket stupid Asgard couldn't catch you, rat it's for the best I'll bury you together with that scoundrel. Hercules's eyes also widened when he saw Yi and Wu. Yi and Wu ignored them both. Click. A hidden true name of Vigrid, Guy Bulg, is being released. Folklore. Hitting the mark with a single shot. When Yi and Wu felt that he had successfully pushed the Titans and Gigantes away from the fortress, he changed his method of attack. He separated Vigrid from the chains and assembled Ruyi Bang into a staff, attaching Vigrid to one end. Then, he threw the spear at Typhon. It flew at the speed of light and penetrated through multiple barriers that protected Typhon's eye, creating a shower of sparks that fell to the ground as lightning. The sight seemed to have been torn from the old legends. Spurt. Vigrid cleared through the last barrier and pierced Typhon's eye. Open hollow corner bracket Ah! Typhon thrashed in pain, the center of his power injured. Blood dripped from his eye. Hercules. Hercules tossed the club in his hand as if he had been waiting for the signal. As though space itself were torn apart, Typhon's laws over the fortress were broken. Crack. Everything exploded with the sound of cracking glass. Yin Wu retrieved Vigrid and moved again. When the laws of the holy territory were invalidated for a brief moment, he had seen the coordinates to Typhon's true body. After he opened the emptiness that led to it, Yin Wu met the eyes of a gaunt man meditating above a strange magic circle. Dozens of candles lit around him. It was Typhon. Blood dripped down from his injured eye, which he'd covered with a hand. Typhon's visible eye widened in surprise when he realized that his location had been discovered. So, this is where you're hiding. Yin Wu brandished Vigrid and immediately activated the 8 extremes of Sword Thunder. There was no need to go easy on Typhon. As Heaven Thunder exploded, Typhon's room was blown away. A single glance was enough to see that the Sword Thunder flowing along Vigrid was powerful. Typhon attempted to escape his meditation room to avoid being caught in the explosion, and as soon as he hurled himself aside, the room exploded. Keg. Even though he had managed to escape, he couldn't avoid the aftershocks, and one of his arms was burned painfully. Typhon plummeted down into the area where the Titans and Gigantes were fighting. However, he was more enraged by the destruction of his meditation room than by the pain he felt. It had been customized to maximize his powers and divine abilities and served as a control room for all the holy power flowing within Tartarus. It was also necessary in order to completely digest Kronos' remains. Typhon felt a brewing fury and frustration. Yin Wu was a skilled master when it came to ruining the plans he'd labored over for years. As if he were driving this thought home, Yin Wu jumped out of the same crack that Typhon had fallen through, releasing an onslaught of the 8 extremes of Sword Thunder at the same time. From the 2nd to the 4th extreme, amplified Sword Thunder fell one after the other, hitting Typhon before he could even use his own power. Ha ha ha, so, you've finally come out now after hiding like a rat, Typhon. On the ground, Hercules burst into laughter when he saw Typhon. He made a huge swing with his club once more, creating an intense wind that instantly blew Typhon away. Typhon's face twisted now that he was stuck between Yin Wu and Hercules. Open hollow corner bracket, you insignificant beings dare treat me like prey. He had once enjoyed an equal footing as Zeus, and the situation infuriated him. He gritted his teeth in rage when he thought of Asgard's promise to eliminate Yin Wu, no matter what. Boom! Typhon had no choice but to release all his strength. It was partly because he was furious, but in fact, it was difficult to deal with both Yin Wu and Hercules. He still remembered Hercules' imposing prowess that forced the Gigantes into despair during the Gigantomachia, and of course, Yin Wu's ability to resurrect the giants and become their god in order to kill the crawling chaos was still fresh in his mind. Neither Yin Wu nor Hercules was inferior to him, which meant he needed to show all the cards he had. Light flashed and something expanded above and below Typhon's body. In a split second, Typhon grew so large, it seemed that he loomed over the entire Tartarus. The Titans that were kilometers tall looked tiny next to him. His long snake-like tail stretched into the horizon, and hundreds of wings engulfed the sky. Typhon's true body made him appear closer to a monster than a human. He released a strength that not only swept away Yin Wu's strength and Hercules' winds, it even made Tartarus quake. There were hints of other gods in Typhon's energy, as well. The holy power of Mother Earth and Kronos. Yin Wu flapped his sky wings, regaining his balance. His forehead wrinkled as he analyzed Typhon's holy power. It seemed that Typhon had gone through some changes after taking Tartarus as his holy territory. He was using the energy from Kronos' corpse to grow himself more efficiently than the Titans ever did. He shouldn't be able to do this. Did he change the laws of nature within his holy territory to make it possible? Open hollow corner bracket, I'll kill you all. Another wave of strength rushed out of Typhon's enraged voice. Accompanied by the terrifying sounds of the shaking Tartarus, natural disasters fell on Yin Wu, Hercules, and the battlefield, even in the area where the ghost giants and Asgard fought. Flaming meteors rained down from the sky, and the ground cracked open as magma gushed out. Lightning and storms rumbled, and the gravitational force grew so heavy that it was hard to stand. The aggressive assault had the potential to devastate Tartarus, and the Titans had difficulty enduring it, as well. Rumble, swoosh. However, Yi and Wu used the sword thunder of the fifth extreme, nullifying Typhon's laws of nature and chopping off all the wings on his right side with black-red rays of light. Open hollow corner bracket ah. Black holy power sprayed out, and Typhon cried out in pain. The torn wings and feathers fell to the ground. Yi and Wu fought past his dizziness and tried to continue the 8 extremes of sword thunder. He'd never been able to use the 5th extreme before without combining with the demonism. Even the Monkey King's Exuvi had difficulty using it. Because of this, he felt like it might be possible to defeat Typhon with a single strike if he used the 6th extreme. However, just as the Monkey King's Exuvi had warned, using a power that was 64 times more powerful than the original sword thunder took a lot out of his body. Because of this, it took him a while to prepare for the attack. In the meantime, the broken wings and feathers combined with the black holy power and transformed into various magical creatures that charged at Yi and Wu. Kia, kikik, kikikik. Yi and Wu stopped his attempt to activate the 6th extreme and quickly swung Vigrid with sword thunder. Shwoo! Rays of light twisted at different angles and shot towards the creatures as though it were dividing the world in half. Crack! He activated the 1st to the 5th extremes one after the other, sweeping away all the creatures and sending an explosion to Typhon's true body. Bam! Bam! Boom! 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 The explosions pushed Typhon back. Clatter! Chains flew out of pockets of emptiness in the air and wound around Typhon's hand, feet, wings, and neck. Yi and Wu gripped the chains connected to the despair of the Black King and pulled them in. Crack! The chains grew taut, ripping off Typhon's wings and tail. Open hollow corner bracket you damned bastard. Typhon's intense eyes turned to Yi and Wu, and all the laws of Tartarus changed to reject Yi and Wu, placing all kinds of curses on him. You have been afflicted with an unidentified curse. You have been afflicted with an unidentified curse. You have fallen into an abnormal state, curse poison. You have fallen into an abnormal state, holy power denial. You have fallen into an abnormal state, divine ability rejection. Warning: this is a dangerous area. If you do not leave quickly, there may be problems with your creation of holy power, and your divine position may be destroyed. It is advised that you escape. Warning: as a result of falling into too many abnormal states, you are currently in an abnormal curse state. Warning: currently, Typhon forced himself to stretch his hand towards Yi and Wu. The protective barriers around Yi and Wu cracked, and Typhon grabbed hold of him. The more tightly Typhon gripped Yi and Wu, the stronger the binding of the chains grew. Yi and Wu's head was filled with the thought of avenging Hades as the two engaged in a tense combat to the death. Cuckoo. I was hoping for it, but it's still incredible to see that this opportunity would actually appear. Ha ha ha, Helios laughed as he looked at Yi and Wu and Typhon fighting to the death. He had come with Typhon to eliminate Hercules and the resistance. His mother, Thea, had repeatedly told him not to lose this opportunity, and he hadn't understood what she had meant by it at first. Opportunity. Knowing how strong Typhon was, Helios didn't see how Yi and Wu would create an opportunity for them. Of course, he knew Yi and Wu was strong and that even Mother Earth was furious at him for spoiling their plans. However, that was all he knew. Tartarus was already Typhon's holy territory. No matter how much of a rampage Yi and Wu went on, he would still be in Typhon's palm. Furthermore, Asgard was participating in the battle. Naturally, Helios expected Yi and Wu to lose. But it turns out that Typhon might lose instead. In fact, Helios could already see that it was inevitable. The stage's laws were rejecting Yi and Wu and putting him in an abnormal state, but the chain-bound Typhon was being incapacitated at a faster rate. URRNG. Is this possible because of the legacy of the Black King? Helios looked in trepidation at the chains tightening around Typhon's body, wings, and tail, and the casts of the Black King on Yi and Wu's limbs. The Black King was significant not only to the otherworld gods but also to Olympus, as well, and the chains that could bind such an entity were something to fear. However, it was also giving them an opportunity now. Helios thought the world was full of surprises. Open hollow corner bracket Selene. Eos. Helios used magic to send messages to his two sisters, who were leading the Titan soldiers. Open hollow corner bracket yes. Go ahead, Helios. Open hollow corner bracket are you about to start now? Open hollow corner bracket as you can see, this is the only chance we have. I'll head directly to Kronos, corpse. Get the soldiers to retreat surreptitiously. Open hollow corner bracket it seems that you think Typhon is going to lose, Helios. Okay. As the Titan soldiers began to retreat, Helios moved, desperately hoping Yi and Wu would hold down Typhon long enough. I heard you called for me, Martial King. Heneva temporarily stopped making swords in his smithy after receiving word that the Martial King requested to meet him. The Martial King was enjoying the sunshine with a fishing pole by the lake. It's been a while, Heneva. When was the last time we met, just the two of us? Whoosh. Heneva puffed on his pipe and breathed out smoke with a grin. Probably over 10 years since you commissioned Divine Evil. We've seen each other around, but we've never spoken to each other too long. True. The Martial King smiled as well. Divine Evil was now the sword that represented demon beauty, but it was really an artifact created to complete the Yang sword, which had once only been a legend passed down through generations of the One-Horned tribe. Creating Divine Evil required the touch of a brilliant craftsman, and after a long period of search, the One-Horned tribe discovered that only Heneva had the skills to craft it. And it was more than satisfactory. Even our lofty geezers praised it. Considering how the One-Horned tribe looked down on people who weren't members of their tribe, this meant that Heneva's work was a masterpiece. Adora was aware of this and used Divine Evil with care. Anyway, I'm sure you didn't call for me just to talk about old times. What's the matter? Heneva squinted at the Martial King. I have a favor to ask. You want to commission something? In a way. Under his straw hat, the Martial King grinned flippantly at Heneva. As you know, I'm the greatest leader and stronger warrior in the history of the One-Horned tribe. Unfortunately for the tribe, they won't ever have another king like me. The Martial King complimented himself endlessly. Heneva cocked his head. He knew that the Martial King was full of himself, and he was curious what the Martial King was leading up to. So, to help the tribe honor and remember me, I want you to make a nice statue of me. Heneva's face stiffened. On the surface, it seemed little more than a conceited request, but the implication was clear. Honor and remember, you're saying? The Martial King nodded with a smile. My days are numbered. Open hollow corner bracket. I feel terrified every time I look at that. Helios gulped as he looked at the vast mountain range that extended far into the horizon. The ridge looked like a natural boundary, but in fact, it was the great Kronos, the king of gods who had ushered in the Titan's golden era. Kronos had brought down Uranus, who had been the pinnacle god of the Protogonoi era, and after driving all the other gods away, Kronos became the supreme god feared by many beings in the heavenly world. Even the demonic societies of Malak and L'Infernal had been reluctant to clash with Kronos because, as the apostle of the Black King, he represented the will of that great being. However, eventually, Zeus and his brethren had brought Kronos down and banished his remains in a corner of Tartarus. At the time, the event shocked many gods and demons. It was impossible not to be surprised that the being who ruled over death would succumb to death, as well. Thus, many thought that the following era would be virtually untouchable. Just as the rules of Uranus and Kronos ended, so would that of Zeus. Like the higher gods and creator gods, Zeus suffered from the heavenly demon disease that caused everyone to fall into slumber. Even if Zeus woke up now, there was nothing he could do to turn back the tide, especially with all his allies in Olympus gone. Everyone might think it's Typhon's era now, but Typhon might just be a blip during a transitional period. Helios licked his dry lips. He slowly started walking towards Kronos' head. Typhon took Kronos' power in order to make up for what he had lost after Zeus defeated him. Then, he gave the leftovers to the Titans as though it were some kind of generous gift. After absorbing Kronos' power, Typhon had increased his power beyond his previous peak. However, even with just the dregs, the rest of us managed to gain enough strength to turn the tide and drive Hades out. If we extract Kronos' power properly, we will obtain an infinite amount of power. However, Typhon had never shared the method of extracting Kronos' power with the Titans. Using the power of Kronos was the same as using the power of the Black King, and no god dared even covet the Black King's power without being recognized as a successor first. Otherwise, the Black King would devour them whole. This was why so many of those who chased after the Black King's powers disappeared. The Titans knew of the dangers, so they never attempted to do anything about Kronos. Instead, they had no choice but to allow Typhon to drag them around and force them to do his bidding. However, once they recaptured Olympus, the Titans had to figure out how to stay alive since they knew that they would be thrown away like old hunting dogs. At this critical moment, Dia came up with a suggestion: if we can't have Kronos' power, why don't we just wake him up? Helios and the other Titans pondered this for a long time. Unlike ordinary mortals, who were part of a cycle of reincarnation, immortals had escaped from the cycle of reincarnation by achieving transcendence, which meant that death was permanent for them. Kronos' situation is a bit different. His power collapsed and consumed itself after Zeus defeated him. He may have technically died, but he wasn't annihilated, right? Kronos had been consumed by his own domain of death. In other words, he could not withstand his own domain and had succumbed to it fully. This was why his divine body did not decay or disappear even after death. What if we activate his other domain? Kronos' domains were death and time, and the folklore that defined his existence was death through time. Theia and the other titans thought of this carefully. A considerable amount of time had already passed since Kronos' death. Crops were harvested in the fall, slumbered through winter, and resown in spring. Hadn't Kronos also passed the winter season, which represented death? Couldn't he enter spring, the season that symbolized resurrection? Perhaps the question was too philosophical. However, the gods themselves are embodiments of philosophical ideas. Theia and the Titans hoped to awaken Kronos' domain of time to overcome his other domain of death, and perhaps, Kronos might be resurrected. They knew it wouldn't be easy to force something that had already stopped to begin moving again. However, Helios wasn't too concerned. We just have to reproduce Kronos' legend. Helios recalled what Kronos had done to Zeus and his brethren. Kronos had heard a prophecy that his offspring would dislodge him from the throne in the same manner he had ousted his own father. In order to prevent this from coming to pass, Kronos devoured all of his children. However, his wife, Rhea, hid their youngest son, Zeus. In the end, all of Kronos' precautions were in vain. Helios intended to recreate that legend. I will sacrifice myself to awaken the legend of Kronos. Kronos' domain would activate, and his holy power would spring forth. With only this thought in mind, Helios slowly approached Kronos' face. Fortunately, the cavern of Kronos' mouth was wide and easy to enter. Gulp. He swallowed hard. Even though he was determined to make the sacrifice for his people, Helios could not help trembling as he stood in front of Kronos. He steeled his heart. He had to pave the way for his mother, Theia, to stop the destruction of their people and create a world where his sisters Selene and Eos could live peacefully. He slowly entered Kronos' mouth. Whoosh. After some time, darkness surrounded Helios. He couldn't sense anything at all, not even his own body. If he weren't careful, his ego would disappear without a trace. This was clearly darkness. What the hell did Typhon do in a place like this? Helios felt that needed to sense something first before making an attempt to extract any power. He had no idea how Typhon managed to pull it off. Also, since he couldn't sense anything, he also couldn't trigger Kronos' domain. Helios had been expanding his holy power out ever since he entered, but the holy power didn't react to anything. Something's wrong. If he could feel it, Helios thought that cold sweat would be running down his back, although in truth, he had no idea if it was happening at all. Everything had become a jumbled mess. I have to go back. What Helios feared most was pointless sacrifice, and the possibility of that was too great at the moment. He had been trying to ignore this fear, but it crept up bit by bit. He was also instinctively repulsed by the endless darkness, and he wanted to leave. All of his emotions blended together, his heart fluttering. In the end, he ran away towards the direction where he thought he'd come from. He couldn't even tell if he was really running, but he kept going, hoping to escape as quickly as possible and warn his people about this place. He had to tell them to make other plans. However, no matter how far he thought he was running, the darkness didn't abate. His impatience began to grow alongside his fear. Then suddenly, a thought occurred to him. Perhaps others had also attempted to awaken Kronos. Was it possible that they'd all disappeared in this darkness? Is this darkness the death that consumed Kronos? At this, he was only left with one thought: save me. He lost out to fear and began to run aimlessly. He ran until the darkness completely consumed his existence, and he disappeared. The darkness remained in place as if nothing had happened. Clatter, clatter, squeeze. Yian-Wu never took his hands off the chains around Typhon. Neither did Typhon release the grip he had on Yian-Wu. They both felt such tremendous pain that they wondered if their arms would snap off, but they knew that as soon as they released their grips, at least one of them would die. The tense standoff continued. I heard that the successor to that old geezer Hades is quite talented. Looks like it's true. Hercules laughed as he watched. It was strange to see a blood-drenched, dirt-covered hero like him panting and chuckling, but Hercules didn't care what others thought. He felt he'd been thrown a lifeline. That freaking dad of mine. Even if you come back, I don't think there's any room at the top for you anymore. Ha ha ha. Hercules was a god of combat, and even though a high throne in Olympus had been made especially for him, he had refused the position and wandered freely throughout the tower. He had blocked all the channels with the heavenly world, so he had no idea what had happened to Olympus. However, as soon as he heard about the situation in Tartarus, he appeared right away. Considering how many headaches Olympus had given him in the past, he didn't care what happened to them. It was only because he found out that they were fighting the Gigantes, who had been his enemies as a youth, that Hercules couldn't stay still. Besides, Hades was one of the few gods of Olympus who left a good impression on Hercules, so he thought of avenging him. However, the situation in Tartarus was more serious than he'd anticipated. Tartarus, protectors, Pluto, were nowhere to be found, and the gods of Olympus hadn't been able to withstand the Titans and Gigantes and retreated to Erebus. There was no way he could turn the tides on his own. Fortunately, pockets of resistance had appeared in various areas, and a few Olympian gods had chosen to remain. Hercules gathered them one by one to form an army, at the same time keeping in contact with the Olympian gods who commanded forces in other areas. He constantly heard the same name crop up, Cain. Although Cain's real name was unknown, he was Hades, successor and the next king of the underworld. Even though they were scattered all over Tartarus with no way to communicate, the rebels all consistently said that Cain would come back to reclaim Tartarus and rebuild the old holy fortress. This made Hercules curious about Cain. How did this person with an unknown identity gain so much trust? What the hell had he done to capture Hades' heart, which was known for being tough and obtuse? Hercules wanted to see Cain with his own eyes. The king is back. He's returned to defeat the Titans and Gigantes and to rebuild Tartarus. Follow the king. Help the king defeat the Titans and Gigantes. As he looked at the soldiers, boosted morale upon seeing Yi and Wu, Hercules could feel his own fighting spirit rise. I can't stay still either. It was just like the time when he defeated the Nemean lions and hydras, a feat that no one believed would be possible. He recalled his youthful spirit, took a deep breath, and slowly began to loosen his muscles. Crack, pop, his muscles, which had grown tight from battle, relaxed. White steam rose from his skin, and his fatigue, which he didn't even know he had, drained away. Then, his muscles tightened up again, and Hercules seemed to double in size. Even the light that burned in his eyes grew palatably hot, surprising the soldiers next to him and making them take a few steps back. Hercules did not pay any attention to them. He extended his hand to the soldier next to him. Spear. Spear. Oh, yes, sir. Here. The soldier hurriedly held out a spear. Hercules took it and weighed it in his hands. HMPH. It's not at the level that I like, but it's probably better than nothing, Hercules murmured to himself quietly, took up a throwing stance, and hurled the spear at Typhon. His forearms, which were thicker than most tree trunks, had swollen so much that they looked as though they might burst at any moment. The spear was so fast that it could not be seen with the naked eye. Boom. Open hollow corner bracket arg. Hercules. You mongrel, how dare you! Typhon screamed in pain. The spear had pierced through several of his wings. However, that wasn't the end. The spearhead rotated, exerting an enormous centrifugal force that tore everything within a wide range into pieces. The soldiers' mouths dropped open. Even though they had fought with Hercules for quite some time now, they were still unused to his awesome strength. How many people would believe he had done this due to innate strength alone, without special skills, magic, or external powers? Since your mouth still works, you can still fight, right? Hercules was used to the glares of his opponents, and he laughed. Typhon's scream had spurred on his competitive spirit, and he extended his hand to another soldier. On the contrary, seeing how Typhon still had the strength to scream even after being hit with his spear, Hercules' competitive spirit seemed to heat up, so he extended his hand to another soldier. Spear. The soldiers rushed to bring him their spears. For a strange reason, the Titan's attacks had stopped, allowing the soldiers to focus on his order. Bang, 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 boom. Hercules continued to throw the spears handed to him. Each time he hurled one, it seemed as though his arm would fall off or his muscles would tear, but Hercules did not seem to notice or care. Boom, boom. By the way, isn't this too convenient? Since he's tied up in battle and such a large target, it's so easy to hit him. Ha ha ha. As Hercules' maddening laughter grew louder, large injuries started appearing all over Typhon's body as the spears pierced him. Black holy power leaked out of his wounds, and as he grew more injured, Typhon's grip on Yi and Wu began to weaken. As the chains tightened around him, Typhon felt his breathing grew restricted, as if he were suffocating. Typhon concentrated all his powers on Hercules. HMPH. Since Hercules used strength to deal with everything, the various curses laid on him had no effect. Even the gravity spell placed on him only slowed him slightly and didn't do much damage. Boom, bam, boom, bam. Open hollow corner bracket no. Not like this. As his situation grew worse, Typhon began to feel that he risked death if things continued this way. It had been a miscalculation to face Yianwu and Hercules at the same time. Furthermore, the Titans, who were supposed to occupy Hercules, had suddenly retreated. Typhon was alone in the middle of the battlefield. Typhon ground his teeth in anger at the Titans' betrayal, but he had to focus on fleeing first. He could always pursue revenge later. Rumble. In the end, Typhon activated the holy power in Tartarus, and a great divine punishment fell from the sky and exploded on Yianwu. The skill's power could not be ignored, so Yianwu sighed and loosened this grip on the chain and raised Vigrid high. Pissed, Typhon transformed into his regular-sized incarnation body in order to escape Yianwu's chains. Stupid dunce. Typhon heard Yianwu sneer as though Yianwu were speaking in his ear. Smack. Arg. Vigrid pierced through his body, emerging out of his chest. Typhon turned his head with tremendous effort to see Yianwu smiling at him mischievously. It was only then that Typhon realized that Yianwu had planned this all along. Maybe Mother Earth always carried you on her back to victory. You're terrible at dealing with a crisis, no? Typhon tried teleporting again despite his injury, but Yianwu's chains rushed in from all directions and bound him at once as though they were a cocoon, snuffing out the holy power he was trying to activate. Yianwu spread his hand wide and placed it on Typhon's face. He had finally taken revenge on behalf of Hades. Open hollow corner bracket no, no. Typhon instinctively realized what Yianwu was going to do and screamed. Devour. Yianwu activated Hades' spirit-eating sword and laughed. Hades' spirit-eating sword is consuming Typhon. Crunch. Hades' spirit-eating sword sucked in Typhon's powers at a ferocious speed. Arg. This doesn't make sense. I won't lose to you in this ridiculous game. Typhon's eyes turned red as he tried to shake Yianwu and Hades' spirit-eating sword off. After he'd ascended to Olympus' throne, Typhon had laughed at the gods and demons whose powers Yianwu had absorbed, and he especially ridiculed the envoys who had been slaughtered in the crawling chaos, holy territory. Typhon could not understand how foolish these gods and demons were to fall for such an obvious trap. Nor could he understand how they could allow themselves to be consumed. If one's spirit or soul were eaten, then all the achievements that one had accumulated in order to become a transcendent being would end up belonging to someone else. It was more disgraceful than simple annihilation. However, Typhon discovered that he was ending up in the same boat. Open hollow corner bracket Helios. Selene. Where are you? Typhon called to the Titans who had mysteriously grown silent and disappeared after he and Yianwu began battling. He opened his direct channel with them and demanded their assistance. However, the only response he received was silence. The channel was connected, but no one answered his call. The thing that Typhon dreaded had come to pass. Open hollow corner bracket traitors. You traitors close hollow corner bracket from the beginning. Typhon hadn't trusted the Titans entirely, which was why he'd left them in Tartarus and sent the Gigantes to Olympus after they'd recaptured Tartarus. Typhon had justified this by saying that the Titans needed to protect their home base from the gods of Olympus. Although the gods had fled to Erebus, they might try to stage a comeback any time. In reality, Typhon was worried about the instability that would occur once the Titans obtained their holy powers in Olympus. He tried to head off this risk by keeping the Titans in Tartarus. After all, Tartarus was already his holy territory, and he could see everything they were doing and weed out any potential threats. Since the Titans' usefulness had already expired, Typhon had already decided that he would wipe them out in one fell swoop if the chance presented itself. However, Typhon never guessed that they would betray him first. He had made a critical mistake. Open hollow corner bracket you're calling us traitors. Even though you're on the cusp of death, you're still spewing nonsense, Typhon. Close hollow corner bracket Thea's voice echoed through the channel into Typhon's increasingly blurred consciousness. Her voice was full of laughter. Open hollow corner bracket didn't you only run wild in the heavens because of Mother Earth's backing? Furthermore, the only reason you managed to overthrow Hades is that you stole the Titan King's crown. That crown belongs to us. You're just a petty thief who got lucky. Did you really think you deserved to be anointed as king? Open hollow corner bracket if it wasn't for me, your lives would all still be miserable. Typhon was exasperated and enraged that those he'd given power to would dare stab him in the back. They had obediently wagged their tails like loyal dogs only to bare their teeth at the most important moment. However, despite his anger, Thea's laughter only grew louder. In the distance, Typhon could see Eos, who had grown to a colossal size, at the location where the Titans had retreated. Thea was sitting on Eos' shoulder and staring at Typhon intently. Open hollow corner bracket. Sure, we might have been miserable. However, we will now return to Olympus and regain our crown once again. As for you, close hollow corner bracket. A corner of Thea's lips twisted into a smirk. Open hollow corner bracket. Hades, successor will rip you to shreds and absorb you. Ha ha ha, I wonder who's miserable now. Thea covered her mouth with her hand as she laughed. She was full of elation. Thea, Typhon felt something snap inside his head. Click, Thea had cut off the channel that she had with Typhon. The other Titans also followed suit. Thea and the other Titans have declared their independence from the godly society less than Olympus greater than. A new godly society less than Titans greater than has been established. Less than Titans greater than include Main Supreme Goddess Thea, Supreme Goddess Selene, Supreme God Eos, Great God Hyperion. The godly society less than Titans greater than has declared war on less than Olympus greater than. A hostile relationship between less than Titans greater than and less than Olympus greater than has been established. A change has been made to the alliance diagram. The godly society less than Titans greater than has succeeded in taking over the Great Temple. Ownership of the hidden stage, Tartarus, has been transferred to Thea. Tartarus is now the holy territory of the less than Titans greater than. Arg, Typhon's anger had shot up to the top of his head. He felt like he was going crazy. He never thought that the Titans in the Great Temple would take it over. Their declaration of war and independence meant that they meant to sever all ties. Typhon felt the urge to search for the Titans and rip them into pieces, but Thea and the other Titans had already opened a large portal and were fleeing from the battlefield. Hades, spirit-eating sword continued to consume Typhon's holy power with increasing force. No, not like this. Typhon struggled. His wings were broken, and his tail had been torn into pieces. His power had already plummeted, and all the achievements he had accumulated so far were being forcefully taken from him. Typhon strongly resists. Hades' spirit-eating sword reveals its superbia nature and neutralizes Typhon's resistance. Hades' spirit-eating sword reveals its Gula nature and greedily absorbs Typhon's powers. The Sin Stone, Superbia and Gula, is very satisfied with the absorption. Yin Wu smirked as he pushed Hades' spirit-eating sword deeper into Typhon. He'd always known that there was conflict between the Titans and Gigantes, but he never expected that the Titans would backstab their leader so quickly at the first sign of his weakness. It was almost as though they were attacking from the front instead of from behind. Open corner bracket. The Titans must be skilled if they can gain King Temper's admiration for their backstabbing abilities. Master, shouldn't this inspire you to become more diligent in backstabbing? You might fall behind at this rate. Shut up, Yin Wu snapped at Shannon, who was busy commenting once more. If the Titans and Gigantes were no longer allies, it would be good for Yin Wu. It was not easy to deal with those who possessed the power to defeat Olympus and Tartarus. However, their internal divisions had made Yin Wu a lucky beneficiary. He could instigate a bigger feud between the two and get them to drain each other's power for him. It was the perfect opportunity for him to win without lifting a finger. Things were falling into place unexpectedly well. Deal, let's make a deal. Player ###. Typhon shouted at Yin Wu in an urgent voice. Hades' spirit-eating sword was nearing the end of its absorption process, threatening Typhon's very existence. Typhon had grown terribly anxious, and his face was pale. He looked as though he would shatter from a mere touch. Deal, yes, deal, let's work together. I'll give you what you want. In return, let's have a truce. Yin Wu was dumbfounded. Olympus, great god, who had once been strong enough to rival Zeus and had driven Hades into crisis, had utterly fallen. Yin Wu started to wonder if the god in front of him was truly the same intimidating being with his all-seeing eye that Yin Wu had encountered when he first entered Tartarus. Didn't Typhon feel any shame saying something like this to Yin Wu? However, all Typhon wanted was to escape danger. His grudge against the Titans took second place to his desire to live. The concept of death was unfamiliar to him, and his survival instincts were so strong that he would do things he'd never considered before. How much he struggled to achieve what he had. He had been imprisoned in a prison cell for thousands of years without a single ray of light. During those long years, he'd clenched his teeth and waited for an opportunity. One day, he'd finally risen into the world, And just as he was about to enjoy the fruits of his patience and efforts, how was it possible that he was now about to fall? Typhon was willing to bargain with Yi and Wu and listen to any conditions. Does that mean you'll give me anything I want? Yes. Anything. Yes. Typhon proposes a contract backed by the divine word. If a promise made with the divine word was broken, one's achievements would be shattered. The fact that Typhon was willing to go this far, essentially drinking his own poison, meant that he was in a life or death situation. In fact, at this moment, he could feel his core shaking. His spirit body trembled like a static disrupted signal. Typhon spoke quickly. What do you want? Tartarus, Hades, artifact, aha. Since you're the Black King's successor, you need the corpse of his previous apostle, Kronos, right? I'll teach you how to absorb Kronos factors. Yi and Wu could not help laughing. In the end, no matter how arrogant one was, one's desire to live always outweighed other concerns. It didn't matter whether one was a mortal or a transcendent being. Only those who were truly great beings could stay aloof and confident in the face of death. Like Hades, Yi and Wu laughed as he remembered his benefactor, Hades, once more. Have you decided? Typhon forced a smile. He thought that Yi and Wu had made a decision to agree. Yeah, then, your life. Typhon's face, which was on the brink of breaking out into a large smile, suddenly hardened at the mocking words that Yi and Wu threw at him. Yi and Wu's smile deepened. Give me your life. .. Typhon screamed, his face twisted. The divine word has been activated. As the tower's system executed the divine word, the rest of Typhon's spiritual core surged into Hades' spirit-eating sword. No, Typhon's wail faded quickly, and even though his soul maintained its form until the end, Hades' spirit-eating sword still consumed it. Hades' spirit-eating sword has succeeded in consuming a spirit. Typhon, the godly society less than Olympus greater than supreme god, has been devoured. All his achievements and legends have been transferred to you. You have made an achievement that is not easily accomplished. Additional karma will be provided. You have acquired 150,000 additional karma. You have acquired 200,000 additional karma. The process of purification has begun. The situation of the godly society less than Olympus greater than has been announced to the heavenly world. Your ally less than Niflheim greater than cheers loudly. Your ally less than Chan sect greater than pays tribute to your great victory. Your ally less than East Demon Army greater than reacts to the news as though it is expected. The allied force less than Asgard greater than is in great shock. They are starting to discuss their retreat. The allied force less than Olympus greater than is in a state of panic at the defeat of their supreme god. While discussing the next supreme god, they express strong hostility to the less than Titans greater than who have declared independence. The neutral demonic society less than Diva greater than is silent. The neutral demonic society less than Gia sect greater than is silent. The godly society less than Malik greater than is congratulating you on your victory. The demonic society less than L'Infernal greater than is extremely happy to see that the battle is nearing its end. Vimalasitra is very pleased with your victory. He sends his congratulations on your progress towards becoming a great warrior. Cernunnos quietly closes his eyes. He exhibits no other reaction. Many gods are silent regarding your victory. Many demons show surprise at your growth rate. Each society reacted in a different way, although they all seemed stunned, just like the time when Yi and Wu had obtained the revelations. Even though Hercules had helped Yi and Wu, the fact that he had killed a supreme god inevitably affected the heavenly world's beings more deeply than the death of the crawling chaos. Furthermore, during the purification process, Yi and Wu had sensed that Typhon had two different types of divine powers. The two divine powers were so different that Yi and Wu wondered whether it was even possible to absorb them both. One divine power originated from the Titans, who had evolved because of Kronos. Ring. The cast of the Black King absorbed all of Kronos' divine power, just like it had done before. The only divine power left belonged to Mother Earth. Typhon possessed Mother Earth's divine power since he worshipped her as his god. As soon as he touched Mother Earth's divine power, Yi and Wu felt his consciousness come into contact with a distant consciousness. Whoosh! The whole world around him changed. My things. You, again, taking my things. Mother Earth was in front of Yi and Wu, glaring at him. Mother Earth's enormous size seemed to fill the entire world. She looked at Yi and Wu, who was as tiny as a speck of dust next to her, furiously. Yi and Wu laughed without knowing the exact reason why. She also seemed larger than life when I last saw her in Tartarus, but she's not. He'd had the same feeling when he encountered Typhon. When they'd first met, Yi and Wu thought that Typhon's presence alone was suffocating. However, this time around, Typhon seemed like a rather pitiful existence, and this was how Mother Earth seemed to Yi and Wu now, as well. Of course, Mother Earth's power was still great. However, Yi and Wu felt that he wasn't lacking next to her, especially when he combined with the demonism. She was about as powerful as the crawling chaos, possibly a bit stronger. Wasn't this a fair assessment? Yi and Wu felt that he could go toe-to-toe with her. However, I feel like she's hiding something. Yi and Wu did not hide his confidence, and as if she could read his mind, Mother Earth's face twisted. Her aura grew violent and lashed against Yi and Wu fiercely. A shadow appeared and made its way to Yi and Wu as though it were ready to swallow him whole. Rumble. Yi and Wu did not hide his own power and released it all. His aura spread out like a blazing wildfire, and it not only pushed away Mother Earth's aura, his aura clashed with her and made sparks larger than pillars of fire burst out. Boom! Some of the sparks grazed Mother Earth's cheek. At first, Mother Earth didn't realize what had happened. She slowly raised her gigantic hand and stroked her cheek lightly. When she saw her holy power dripping like blood on her fingertips, her eyes trembled. She's probably going to say something crazy again. Yi and Wu gripped Vigrid tightly. He was expecting a full-fledged fight with her. His dragon heart, which had almost been completely drained, already regained its magic power through its restorative ability. He was ready. Mother, please wait a moment. Before Mother Earth could act, a lightning bolt landed in front of her. It was Persephone. Mother Earth looked at her apostle and then quietly turned to Yi and Wu. Her glowing eyes exuded an intense desire. Rumble. However, as though she'd never appeared, Mother Earth slowly pulled her body back into the darkness, which quickly engulfed her. Yi and Wu did not dare pursue the retreating Mother Earth. For a moment, he even wondered if he should take advantage of this opportunity to come to some sort of agreement with her. Well, it wouldn't be easy either way. Yi and Wu realized that fighting Mother Earth at this moment would be of no use to him. He was in Typhon's illusory world based on Typhon's consciousness, which was in turn fueled by the remnants of holy power bestowed by Mother Earth. A fight would only waste his energy. Mother Earth had probably been surprised by Typhon's sudden death, and she appeared only to confirm Yi and Wu's power. It was clear that her true body was still in the heavenly world. Now, Persephone stood in front of Yi and Wu with a faint smile on her face. Son, you have become so great in such a short period of time. Yi and Wu's eyebrows twitched. Son, what kind of dog shit are you spewing about? Since you inherited everything from Hades, aren't you like my adopted son? Boom, keep spewing nonsense and I'll tear off your snout, Yi and Wu growled as he swung Vigrid a few times. His golden eyes glowed with an intense light, and the atmosphere trembled. Persephone patted the side of her neck with her fingertips and clucked her tongue lightly with a smile on her face. Oh, dear, you sure don't know how to take a joke. Is this all it takes to possess the throne of death? Hades didn't possess a sense of humor, as well. However, your lack of humor seems worse than his. Yi and Wu's eyes widened even more. When Yi and Wu's grip on Vigrid tightened, Persephone took a few steps back. Fine, no more useless words. Would you rather talk business? This is so fun to see. Nearly 200 years have passed, although time rewound in the middle, but still, such an incredible development in a short amount of time. I wonder what will happen once you achieve exuviation and transcendence. Persephone smiled gently as she stroked the goosebumps on her forearm. If she was ecstatic just thinking about Yi and Wu's development. You might even achieve what Alpharon has desperately wished to do. Yi and Wu didn't place too much importance on Persephone's words. He had no reason to see her in a positive light since she repaid Hades' love with betrayal and brought on Olympus' downfall in the process. The only thing holding Yi and Wu back was his superhuman patience. It was purely a courtesy to Hades. Persephone slowly said, I want to make a proposal. A proposal, the same words that Typhon had said. After the Titans backstabbed you, I guess your back got itchy, right? One corner of Yi and Wu's lips twisted up. Persephone sighed in an exaggerated fashion as though she were acting on stage. Even if I say no, it will only sound like I'm bluffing, so I have no choice but to say yes, right? Right, we are in a very difficult situation right now. Because you lost Tartarus, right? Persephone's relaxed manner faded away and she showed her emotions for the first time. She was probably grinding her teeth over the fact that she'd waited so long to take control of Tartarus, only to see it snatched away in the blink of an eye. We're planning to launch a massive offensive against the Titans. Thus, in the meantime, you don't want any hostilities with me, even if that means working together or forming a truce, right? Persephone smiled. It's nice to talk to someone who understands. You know how to be flexible when necessary. Yianwu forced himself to hold back his laughter. What bullshit. Her words were so ridiculous that it left Yianwu speechless. Yianwu never thought that Persephone and Mother Earth would suggest a proposal like this. Were they that angry about losing Tartarus? Or were they simply lashing out at the Titans who had betrayed them? If they did not retaliate after this betrayal, the other societies in the heavenly world would probably look down on them. It was possible that they needed to make a show of force to dispel any loss of face. However, Yianwu thought he could sense another reason. What could it be? Losing Tartarus was not the only issue. Once everyone ascended to the heavenly world, Tartarus would be a useless wasteland to them. Furthermore, Tartarus was a battlefield full of rebels, and the previous gods of Olympus might show up at any time. Why did they need Tartarus so much? They had to have a reason, and Yianwu could think of only one: Kronos. Typhon had used Kronos to his advantage. If they had seen how the Titans and Gigantes used Kronos' corpse to defeat Hades and Pluto, then it made sense that they would want Tartarus and Kronos' corpse. How should Yianwu answer? It wouldn't be a bad thing to get along for now. Yianwu did not have to join hands with Persephone. He just needed to negotiate a non-aggression pact, encircle the Titans with a two-front attack, and destroy them. The Titans would be overwhelmed by two enemies attacking at the same time. Afterwards, Persephone and her group could deal with the Gigantes, which benefited Yianwu anyway. However, if they continued to battle each other, they would waste energy and resources, and in this light, it made sense to accept Persephone's proposal. However, Yianwu closed his eyes slightly. He could still recall his tearful escape from Tartarus as vividly as if it had just happened yesterday. Mother Earth had tried to devour Tartarus, and Persephone smiled coldly as things fell apart. Hades had instinctively sensed the end. Although he detested Yianwu, Poseidon told him to survive since Yianwu was the successor to the throne. There was Athena, Hermes, Apollo, and Artemis, and many others. He recalled their last desperate appearances and expressions. Boom! Yianwu swung Vigrid down, and a diagonal crimson line appeared on Persephone's body. Slash! Slip! The two parts of her body slid apart and shattered to pieces with a small explosion. Boom! A shadow rose over the pieces, and Persephone reappeared in another incarnation. She was now tremendously angry. Yianwu did not know if it was because the destruction of her previous incarnation caused her pain or because of Yianwu's response to her proposal. How dare you! Don't even think about spewing more nonsense. Yianwu cut Persephone off and gave her a toothy grin. You and the Titans are the same in my eyes. That goes for Mother Earth, as well. You all should make sure to pick out your burial places now. I almost forgot. You appear flexible, but you're actually as stiff as a blockhead. Let's just say that I have a strong backbone. Persephone's expression twisted even more at Yianwu's words. After taking a deep breath, she regained her composure. Phew, she put on a bright smile once more, saying, I guess it can't be helped. Since you're so confident, I have no choice but to rise above it. She was pretending to be so dignified, but her passive-aggressive words were declaring an all-out war in her intent to trample Yianwu along with the Titans. I welcome it. Oh, and since you're being so sincere, I'll accept your gift as well. What? Persephone did not know what Yianwu was talking about or what he was up to. Her smile once again faded into a frown. Cuckoo. Suddenly, the illusory world began to violently shake. Hades' spirit-eating sword is attempting to consume the illusory world. Persephone's expression crumbled when she realized what Yianwu was doing. She no longer exhibited any haughtiness. Wait, no way. Yianwu was planning to consume the illusory world. Yianwu would not only be forcibly devouring Mother Earth's factors and holy power but also some of Mother Earth and Persephone's consciousness, which they had used to project their presence in the illusory world. If part of her consciousness were taken away, it would be a huge blow even to a great god like herself. She quickly tried to withdraw her will and consciousness, but no matter what she did, she could not. Yianwu had already taken control of the illusory world. She finally realized what had happened. When Yianwu had sliced apart her first incarnation in an apparent fit of emotion, he'd set a trap. When Persephone created a second incarnation, she had been forced to project more of her will and consciousness. She had never thought that she would be slapped across the face like this. For the first time, Persephone's grip on her emotions faltered. You dog bastard. Fenrir would have been very happy to hear those words. Yianwu smiled leisurely as he devoured everything in the illusory world, which twisted as it surged into Yianwu's hand. The power of Hades, spirit-eating sword has successfully taken over the illusory world. Arg! Persephone felt a part of her will and consciousness being torn away as she was thrown back into the heavens. Hades, spirit-eating sword consumed the consciousness and will that she left behind. Boom, boom, boom. As the illusory world shattered completely, reality returned. As if he were prepared to intervene at any moment, Shannon stood next to Yi and Wu in his shadow form, his flaming blue eyes staring at Yi and Wu in disbelief. Yi and Wu smiled lightly and asked, "Why are you staring at me with such a worshipful and respectful expression?" Open corner bracket forget it. It's nothing. Shannon had to shake his head at Yi and Wu's lack of shame. Ha ha ha, everyone was shouting, "Hero, this and, hero, that. It's really true, you're a true hero." Ignoring Shannon's respectful gaze, Yi and Wu descended to the ground. At that moment, Hercules strode forward and embraced him. Unfortunately, Hercules was a head taller than Fant and his muscles were so solid, it was as though he were covered in heavy armor. In fact, these were the same tremendous muscles that had helped poke holes in Typhon just moments ago. Breath, I'm out of breath. Yi and Wu thought that his body would shatter and disintegrate. He even considered the possibility that Persephone might have sent Hercules to assassinate him. Ahem, the king of the underworld seems to be having a hard time, perhaps you should let him go so we can talk. One of Hercules' lieutenants coughed. Ha ha ha, he must have tired himself out after such a fierce fight with Typhon. Hercules smiled brightly and released Yi and Wu, pounding Yi and Wu on the back to show his appreciation. His hand was the size of the lid of a pot used to cook food for entire battalions. Bam, bam, why does our hero look so tired? You're much weaker than you look, aren't you? I can't allow this to continue. I must buy you some good medicine to strengthen your constitution. Yi and Wu was in his present state purely because of Hercules' brute strength, but Hercules' squeezing and beating prevented him from saying anything. He was already starting to feel motion sickness and nausea. Where the hell does his strength come from? Even if there was a legend that Hercules was the most powerful among Zeus' offspring, Yi and Wu was also an outstanding talent who had defeated Typhon. Yi and Wu could withstand most physical shocks, but Hercules' brute strength went above and beyond anything that he had ever faced before. I heard that for a short while, he even took over for Atlas, who had to hold up the world as punishment for his sins, so maybe he's naturally strong. All Yi and Wu could think of now was how to Hercules' hand. Unfortunately, Hercules showed no signs of stopping. Before Yi and Wu could even save Athena and the others, he thought that his bones might all break. He frowned so deeply that the skin between his brows bunched up. Failed, Helios. Theia summoned all the titans scattered throughout Tartarus to the temple of the king of the underworld. She'd been worried about Helios' radio silence, and then, she received a report from one of her daughters, Selene. Her expression hardened after she listened to it. Yes, mother, we found traces of the sacrifices that Helios had offered near Kronos' corpse but nothing else. This doesn't make sense. Theia slammed her fist into the table. Helios was her irreplaceable son. He was a talented child that once possessed the domain of the sun before Apollo had taken it away, and Theia believed that he would one day resurrect the Titans and lead them to glory. That child had sacrificed himself to activate Kronos' time and restart Kronos' clock. And yet, such a talented and courageous person had died such a futile and dog-like death. With nothing to show for it. The joy she had felt after hearing about Typhon's death and Persephone's losses only lasted for a brief moment. Theia managed to suppress the anger that was rising up her body. If she could follow her heart, she would lead the Titans to Kronos and search for Helios, who might still be alive somewhere. Zing! Suddenly, a portal opened next to Theia and Selene. A middle-aged man with an anxious face appeared. It was Hyperion, Theia and the father of her children. Although he did not obtain the position of the supreme god of the Titans, he was still the highest-ranking god because of his formidable fighting power. He also served as the war god and led Titan's forces. Forget about Helios for a moment. The Gigantes bastards are trying to descend. Theia nodded. This was the reason she gathered the Titans at the great temple of the king of the underworld. She knew that the Gigantes would take the opportunity to attack. The newly enthroned Persephone would never allow anyone below her to fling mud on her face. Even though Hades had showered her with unwavering love, Persephone had never let go of the grudge she had for Hades after he'd forced her to live with him. This was who Persephone was, and no matter how much time passed, she never forgot her grudges and always sought revenge. As long as Kronos' corpse remained, it was obvious that she would try to retaliate. Along with the Gigantes, she would probably also bring Mother Earth's forces to vanquish the Titans. Everything now hinged on Asgard and Yi and Wu. For now, we should focus on defense. Thea believed that if they could block the first assault, the Titans' independence would be guaranteed. Persephone could not focus on battling the Titans forever. Even if she had a temporary ceasefire agreement with Yi and Wu, her back would itch too much to keep the agreement past its due date. Phew, Thea made a long exhale. If her plan had worked, she would have awakened Kronos, boosted the Titans' powers even more, and overwhelmed the Gigantes by now. However, it seemed that they had to wait a little longer. Gather your troops. Everyone must mobilize. Thea's eyes glowed with an intense light. At that, a full-scale war between the Titans and Gigantes began. The godly society less than Asgard greater than declares retreat. The godly society less than Asgard greater than frowns at the infighting within less than Olympus greater than. Less than Asgard greater than has begun serious discussions about its withdrawal. Thor continues to request less than Asgard greater than to continue its participation. Balder expresses his displeasure. Serious discussions within less than Asgard greater than have become heated due to differing opinions. Asgard was fed up with the clash between the Titans and Gigantes and had temporarily retreated. Thinking that they no longer had to participate in the war, Agares and the others visited Yi and Wu. Huh, what's this? Old Prince Nezha and friendly Erlang Shen. And Agares and Fenrir, too. Did you guys get a discount on a group tour? Even giants. Hercules looked in disbelief at faces around him, recognizing them from when he was still running around in Olympus. However, he couldn't understand what could make them all gather in this place. No matter how much Hercules tried to recall the past, it didn't seem like this collection of beings had ever gathered like this before. The giants that he'd believed extinct were even here. As soon as he and Valdebec met each other's eyes, Hercules felt his hands itch. Giants were supposed to be natural warriors, and Hercules wanted to see how good they really were and whether they lived up to their reputation as true warriors. Valdebec also felt the same itch, and he glared back at Hercules, his hand already moving to his greatsword, Claymore. Of course, considering the surroundings in place, nothing happened. Hercules' eyes turned to Yi and Wu, bright with fascination. The more I look at him, the more interesting this guy gets. At first, Hercules had believed that Yi and Wu was just a hero of Tartarus, but now, Hercules felt that Yi and Wu already possessed the ability to become the leader of a heavenly society. I want him. Hercules licked his dry lips and swallowed. Of course, he wasn't behaving like this because of something like sexual urges. It was because people like him were greedy for talent, especially since Olympus so urgently needed it at the moment. Unfortunately, people who saw his actions could only see him as a pervert drooling over something he desired. Tremble. Yi and Wu shuddered all of a sudden as a feeling of anxiety flashed through him. Open hollow corner bracket. Hey, put your sick eyes away before I poke them out, Hercules. Agares said, narrowing his eyes. Hercules just snorted, not discouraged in the least. I don't want to hear from a perverted guy who's chosen to appear as a child. Open hollow corner bracket. What? Agares growled as if he were ready to charge at Hercules at any moment. Next to him, Fenrir also started barking loudly as if he wanted to make his presence known. Woof, woof, woof. You're so popular, it must make you feel good. Prince Nezha burst into laughter as he watched the three argue. He had returned to his human form again as if he had never been a three-headed, six-armed monster. Yi and Wu pretended not to listen. He never cared about what other people desired or wanted in the first place. Prince Nezha burst into laughter once more when he saw Yi and Wu being so aloof. First, we should discuss what we should do next. Once everyone calmed down, Hercules began talking even though his eyes were still focused on Yi and Wu. Although he led the largest group of resistors, Yi and Wu had been appointed by Hades as the true king of Tartarus. Hercules acknowledged Yi and Wu's authority and was ready to consolidate all systems under Yi and Wu. That way, once the various resistance forces gathered together, they would be forced to bow to Yi and Wu even if they didn't like it. Hercules wasn't the only one. Pluto, the resistors, and even the representatives of the alliance all focused on Yi and Wu. Since he was in charge now, they all wondered what plan he had in mind. After thanking Hercules with a brief glance, Yi and Wu returned their glances and began speaking as he ignored the way Hercules made his muscles bulge out as he returned Yi and Wu's look. We have a lot of work to do in Tartarus. We need to gather the scattered resistance forces and recapture the temple of the king of the underworld. We must also defeat the Titans and Gigantes and restore Olympus. However, there is something more urgent than that. Hercules anticipated what Wu was about to say and nodded in agreement with his arms crossed. We must rescue the great gods of Olympus. Imbued with magic power, Wu's words were distinct in everyone's ears. Everyone, including Pluto, clenched their fists. At last, the moment that they had been longing for had finally arrived. However, Hercules' lieutenant raised his hand to speak up. The king of the underworld is right, but there's one problem. What is it? We do not know where the high-ranking gods of Olympus are or how to find them. The rebels nodded with glum expressions. They'd thought of rescuing their gods many times, and if they'd only known where the gods were, they would have already made their way there already. Hercules agreed and turned to Wu to see if he had any solutions. They're in Erebus. When Wu answered without hesitation, everyone's eyes widened in surprise. Erebus was at the bottom of the world, a place farther down than Tartarus. It was known to devour all beings, and there was a folklore that said even elements couldn't form there. Erebus was a fragment that had fallen out of the Great Chasm, which was also referred to as the Darkness. The fact that they had willingly entered such a dangerous place meant that the high-ranking gods were in dire straits, and it was even possible their existences were already gone. If Wu was right, they had to head to Erebus right away. Perhaps they might be able to save at least one god. Hercules' eyes were wide. Is that true? That's right. However, I don't know where they are in Erebus. Do you have any evidence? The Chang'an Library. Have you ever been there? It was impossible to gain access to the Chang'an Library unless one was at the level of a supreme god. Hercules was so startled at Wu's achievements that all he could do was laugh. He could not even guess Wu's limits anymore, and his desire to obtain such a talent increased even more. By coincidence, Wu said curtly as if it were nothing special. He looked around. Fortunately, the conflict between the Titans and Gigantes has reached a climax, and Asgard has decided to retreat. There's no better time than the present. I want to open the door to Erebus right away. Does anyone know how? No one answered Wu's question since they were all busy exchanging looks. Hercules groaned as he covered his face with his hand. As far as I know, Erebus has always been a top-secret area even in Olympus, so only the three supreme gods would know. Didn't that old geezer Hades ever tell you? Wu shook his head. When he had succeeded to Hades' throne, he was being chased and there hadn't been any time to learn anything from Hades. There were still many things that Wu did not know. A deep crease formed on Hercules' forehead. I'm pretty sure that geezer, Poseidon, must have opened the door to Erebus. That means there's only one other way left. We'll have to wake Zeus up. Wait, no, that's impossible. Even I, the great Hercules, don't even know where that geezer is. If I had to take a guess, he's probably somewhere in the heavenly world, and it's not like we can go there now, right? As long as Persephone and Mother Earth were blocking their way to the heavens, accessing the heavenly world would be difficult. Also, Wu had yet to obtain the qualifications to go up to the 98th floor. In the end, there was only one option left. Then we either take over the temple of the king of the underworld or sneak in and look at the records related to Erebus. Hercules frowned as if he was not satisfied with this option either. However, without any warning, a bright red light flashed in front of Wu. Whoosh! At the request of the original owner, a transfer of ownership has begun. Shannon and Hanrion appeared from the shadows in front of Wu to protect him. Hercules and the others also readied their weapons, wondering if it was a sneak attack. Stop! Wu sensed something and quickly shouted at his companions, running towards the red light. The others might not have recognized it, but Wu was familiar with the energy source. As soon as the pale red glow disappeared, a broken, 9-layer shield fell from the sky. Wu quickly caught it before it could hit the ground. It was Aegis, Athena's weapon, and it had been returned to Wu. There was a fragment of a word on Aegis, surface, LP. Wu instantly recognized that it was a request for help. That's. Hercules looked at the 9-layer shield in astonishment. Wu nodded. It's Aegis. Hercules' expression hardened for a moment. Why did it go to you? I don't know, but Athena is in danger. Wu's eyes narrowed. Aegis could withstand and block anything and represented the war goddess Athena. The fact that it was damaged so severely meant she must have lost a lot of her divine powers. She's in serious danger. Wu had once owned Aegis, and the shield had likely sought him out because of this. Wu looked closely to see if there were any other marks, but he couldn't find anything else. Boo! SS's. Boo oozed out as a black mist from the shadows. The Arch-Lich was already several meters in height, and he emanated so much power that it overwhelmed and dominated his surroundings whenever he materialized. Open corner bracket as you command. Boo's bony finger touched Aegis lightly. A magic field rolled out like a wave along Aegis' surface. Open corner bracket checking for traces. Searching for thoughts. Restoring memories close corner bracket. Boo moved his hand in the air as though he were flipping through a book before he moved his jaws slowly to speak. Open corner bracket Athena currently Erebus not there she is Tartarus is here. Danger she is in. What, here? Everyone was astonished. Yin Wu asked with a stiff expression, where? Do you know where she is? Whoosh. Aegis began to glow once more. Boo raised his hand and stared into empty space. Bam! Aegis began to change its shape and turned into a wounded owl, the animal that represented Athena's eyes. Flap! The owl stared at Yin Wu, flapped its wings, and flew into the sky. It was definitely heading to Athena. Yin Wu spread his sky wings and followed the owl. The rest of the party followed behind him. Boom, boom, boom. Open hollow corner bracket the shield has been poisoned by the Hydra, so it couldn't have gone too far. We need to find it, no matter what. Open hollow corner bracket Persephone commanded us to capture Athena alive. We can't let her escape. On a hillside in a corner of Tartarus, one of the 8 great gods of the Gigantes, Cisseus, grimaced as he led his forces to pursue Athena. Open hollow corner bracket damn it, putting us through all this trouble. Silly bitch. Unlike the other Gigantes who were fighting the Titans at the temple of the king of the underworld, he had been given the pathetic task of hunting down someone. However, Mother Earth's orders were more solemn than those of any oracle. If they managed to capture Athena, the Gigantes would have a huge advantage. Open hollow corner bracket they probably won't mind if I have a little bit of fun with Athena before handing her over. Cisseus licked his dry lips. Athena had been born from the king of gods Zeus' head, and she had grown up to be a leader of her generation. Her wisdom had driven the Gigantes into crisis several times in the past, and her majesty had broken their will. Cisseus was among those whom she had humiliated in the past. However, the situation had completely changed. Cisseus had always been secretly infatuated with Athena, and he was overjoyed that he'd have the opportunity to destroy her majesty. As lustful thoughts crowded in his brain, he smiled. Open hollow corner bracket we've found traces of holy power here. One of Cisseus' subordinates urgently shouted. Open hollow corner bracket where? Fearing that he might lose the fleeting trail, Cisseus hurried to his subordinate, followed by his troops. Wow, sister, it must be great to be so popular, right? A man watching the Gigantes from a distance murmured quietly to himself before climbing down a tree and looking in a crevice. Athena was inside, breathing raggedly as she applied pressure to the wound on her side to staunch the bleeding. Will you shut your fucking trap, Ares? Although her swearing was energetic, Athena's complexion was not very good. Cisseus had wounded her with a sword coated in Hydra's venom, which was so toxic that even gods and demons were afraid of it. Even in her ordinary divine state, the best she would have been able to do was contain the venom, and now that she had lost much of her power in Erebus, she could barely suppress it. If she used up all her remaining holy power in this manner she would soon meet her end. Athena found it difficult to even swear at the playful Ares. She was fortunate that the trap she set up managed to divert her pursuers, but it would probably not take long for them to catch on. She needed to find a solution before they did that. I transferred ownership of Aegis using the tower's system, but it may not be enough. Did Aegis find Yin Wu? If he was in Tartarus like she was, her plan would work. Otherwise, Aegis would just wander around pointlessly. Even though Athena used the tower's system, she was in Typhon's holy territory, so it probably wasn't possible for Aegis to leave Tartarus. If Aegis found Yin Wu, she hoped that he would use Aegis in her stead. This is all I can do for you now. As she thought of Yin Wu, Athena closed her eyes. Whenever she thought of him, she felt an ache in her heart. She hadn't sent Aegis as a request for help. She had only wanted to leave a keepsake out of regret for the things that had happened in the past. In fact, Athena had a good sense of her own limitations. She had moved everyone to Erebus because she wanted to evacuate the elder great gods, like Poseidon, who had lost their drive and will. However, she'd left Erebus because she wanted to stay in Tartarus and fight to the bitter end, hoping for the opportunity to retake Olympus. Kronos is the secret weapon that can change the situation. However, it's too difficult for me to approach Kronos in this condition. If she made a move, the Gigantes would quickly discover her whereabouts. Cisseus had helped Persephone bring down the great gods of Olympus, and he had a tremendous amount of power. Most gods would probably be too frightened to challenge him. Deprived of her holy power and majesty, Athena wouldn't be able to withstand him, especially since she'd fled the heavenly world. Besides, Cisseus had a grudge against her, and his tenacity made even Athena tremble. On the positive side, the other gigantes haven't come after me. Also, the Titans are nowhere to be seen. Is there something going on? When Athena caught herself thinking these thoughts, she smiled bitterly at herself. Despite her condition, she was still trying to understand the enemy's situation. It was a laughable reaction, considering her present circumstances. I don't know if this is lucky or not, but I guess I won't be alone on my path. Athena raised her head slightly to look at Ares, who was still cautiously surveying their surroundings. Even though they shared the same blood, they didn't usually get along with each other. Ares cared mostly about himself and what he could gain, and most of Athena's memories were filled with his growls of dissatisfaction. When she thought of it now, Athena felt that Ares was justified to feel that way. Like many of Zeus' other children, Athena was an illegitimate child, while Ares was a legitimate one birthed by Hera. It was inevitable that Ares would be jealous of the eldest daughter who excelled in everything from academics to martial arts, and even virtue. They had clashed so often before that at some point, they'd grown reluctant to even meet each other. In fact, they were carrying out this mission together because, in a rare occurrence, they agreed on retaliating against their enemy. When she thought of the past now, Athena felt that they had wasted precious time bickering and clashing with each other. Athena had ignored Ares because of his mercurial personality, but now that she'd spent a few days alone with him, she came to realize that he had a good side, too. What she'd seen as moodiness was simply his desire to win all the time, and his obstinance came from his ability to make fast decisions about what had to be done. She often got tired of his smugness, but if she considered his point of view, his actions made sense. He was fairly loyal, too. How are you feeling? Can you move? Ares asked Athena after confirming that Cisseus and his troops had left the area. Athena smiled bitterly and shook her head. No, if I move, it'll be even more dangerous for me. Thus, for a moment, the color in Athena's face came back as she slowly stood, using her spear for support. I'm going to take Cisseus' idiotic head with me. Athena also never forgot a grudge. She had always been a proud goddess, and the heavenly world still talked about the time she'd clashed with her uncle, Poseidon. She could never forgive Cisseus, that babbling fool. Even if she died, she would take him with her. Also, if she used herself as bait, Ares might be able to reach Kronos' corpse. However, with a stiff expression, Ares took Athena's spear and forced her to sit on the ground. Athena was about to get angry when he shouted, "What are you planning to do in that shitty condition? Stay here, you won't have to get your hands dirty, sister. I'll rip that guy's face off." What? She hadn't been expecting those words. Athena's eyes widened. However, Ares just snorted. How dare such a lowly being say blasphemous words about my sister? It's not even enough just to kill him. Stay here, and I'll find a way to get his attention. In the meantime, find a way to heal yourself, then go to Kronos' corpse. Why are you doing this? Since I'm injured, I should be the one. It's unfortunate, but sis is smarter than I am, right? In fact, I couldn't understand any of the things that you all discussed in Erebus. I only came here because I wanted to smash their faces one last time, Ares said, a corner of his lips rising. And you know, I'm muscular, unlike you. Meatheads like me have to do meathead things. Besides, what kind of bait can you be in that state? No, Ares was already heading toward Cisseus. Athena tried to chase after him with a shout when Ares suddenly froze. Bam! A large blade protruded from his back. Open hollow corner bracket. What did you say you were going to do to me? Cisseus appeared out of nowhere in front of Ares, sneering. Athena also froze. Drip. Ares looked down at the sword that had pierced his heart as blood gushed from his mouth. Hydra's venom spread quickly throughout his body, just as it had with Athena. Anger swelled in his eyes, and his face twisted from pain. Why you? Open hollow corner bracket. Didn't your sister just tell you? Shut your trap. Cisseus yanked his sword out of Ares and was about to swing for his throat. At that moment, Athena released all of her remaining power. SS's. Boom. An intense tornado spread around her, shaking the stage. Even if she lost her dignity, she would go down as a warrior strong enough to compete with the great gods of Olympus. Her powers pushed Cisseus away. PSH. Open hollow corner bracket ha ha ha. You've finally revealed yourself. Yes, this is it. Athena, my Athena, you're at your most beautiful when you're being stubborn. Stay like that, that will give me the greatest feeling when I take you down. Crazy bastard, how dare you? Athena's power continued to expand. However, the more power she released, the more Cisseus' infatuation with her seemed to grow apparent. The veins along his white forearms swelled up as if they would burst at any moment. In Cisseus' maddened eyes, Athena's appearance was even more alluring. He laughed more maniacally and swung his sword. Bam! The force that exploded from the tip of his sword broke through Athena's power and defenses. Athena tried to draw her power in counterattack. However, Hydra's venom reached her heart, and her body froze at the critical moment. Her magic power stopped functioning, and her divine power was cut off. Her power quickly drained from her body. At a time like this, Athena shut her eyes at Cisseus' approaching blade, but not before something twinkled in the corner of her eye. It was the image of a smiling Yin Wu. Boom! There was a loud explosion, and a hot breeze swept through Athena's hair. She opened her eyes and saw Yin Wu standing in front of her with outstretched wings, just like the way he'd appeared before she shut her eyes. Are you okay, Athena? Yeah, he was back. Athena's emotions rose irrepressibly as she nodded. A single tear fell from the corner of her eye. Yin Wu fumed as he looked at the poisoned Athena, who was barely holding on as she breathed raggedly, and at Ares, who had a terrible wound in his chest. Ares' eyes were dimming, and Yin Wu seemed to see the image of another person overlap the scene before his eyes. It was another person who was leaving his side in a heartbreaking manner. Yin Wu hated the feeling of being left behind by someone close to him and of nursing his sadness and loneliness alone. His heart ached when he saw the relief in Athena's eyes, and a strong emotion rose up in his chest. Open hollow corner bracket what the hell are you? Cisseus had been pushed away after he blocked Yin Wu's sudden attack. His sword, which represented him, was cracked, and it shook as if it would shatter at any moment. If his reflexes had been only a moment too late, Cisseus wouldn't have survived. Cisseus wanted to know what Yin Wu was and not who, because Yin Wu didn't seem like another god, nor did he seem like a demon or a dragon, beings that possessed abundant magic power. The closest thing he could think of was a giant, but Cisseus could not sense the distinctive giant aura or unique characteristics. Since he'd spent most of his time in Tartarus and didn't care what happened outside the heavenly world, Cisseus did not know much about Yin Wu. Although his associates had mentioned Yin Wu before, once he discovered that Yin Wu was just a mortal player, Cisseus lost interest. However, it was clear that he had made a mistake by overlooking a powerful existence. When he saw Yin Wu focusing solely on Athena and Ares without giving him a second glance, Cisseus' anger overwhelmed him. Open hollow corner bracket you dare. Cisseus started gathering his power to crush Yin Wu. However, Yin Wu turned to Cisseus and said, "Stay right there." Zap! Cisseus froze as an electric shock ran through his body. "Why has my body? I can't move." He could not understand what was happening. Yin Wu had used divine speech, words imbued with holy power, to move the laws of nature. With divine speech, one could imprison or disable someone else with one word. However, this only worked if one's power was overwhelmingly superior. As a great god, Cisseus could not understand why the newcomer's speech managed to affect him. His hands and feet had been bound by divine speech, which meant only one thing: the being in front of him, whether he was a god, demon, dragon, giant or whatever, this entity possessed a power beyond his wildest imagination. What the hell is this guy? He could not understand. Fear of the unknown was obviously something that affected the gods more severely. Even after he'd defeated Typhon, Yin Wu hadn't separated from the demonism, and now that he'd already defeated a supreme god, there was no reason to even acknowledge a great god. Boo! Open corner bracket I await your orders. Boo appeared from the shadows, spreading his hand to raise his shadows around Ares. The shadows entered Ares' wound, mending his heart and stopping the holy power from flowing out. As though he were strumming a harp, Boo's left hand moved constantly, and the shadows flowed out like water into Athena, devouring the Hydra's venom. It didn't matter how powerful it was, it could not withstand Yin Wu's less than formless poison greater than. Through the shadows which were connected to Yin Wu, Boo collected the venom and incinerated it with holy fire. Athena began to recover some of her powers, and her complexion improved. She looked at Yin Wu with an expression of surprise. She had been certain that she had met her end, and now she was rapidly recovering. It wasn't easy to heal her injuries. How could Yin Wu have grown so much in the time they'd lost contact? Before astonishment had overwhelmed her, Athena's first reaction had been one of pity for Yi Wu. She could only think of what he'd endured and gone through to develop so much in such a short time. The pain and suffering that Yi Wu must have gone through made her heart ache. Ha ha ha, I knew it. I knew my apostle is a cut above the rest. Now that he was recovering, Ares burst into laughter as he looked at Yi Wu. His eyes gleamed fiercely with a greedy sense of ownership. Athena was dumbfounded by Ares' behavior. Apostle, you still haven't given that up? Of course not. Nothing can compare to this fine specimen. Even in 1,000 years, no one will come close. Ooh, how can I persuade him this time around? Wait, no, damn it, how can I let him see me in such a weak state? This isn't appropriate, right? Ares seriously contemplated his options. Athena had always stepped in whenever Ares acted like this around Yi Wu. However, this time, Ares was so consumed by his desire for Yi Wu that he ignored Athena's reproachful gaze. Athena decided that she would no longer stop Ares. Even at first glance, she could see that Yi Wu had grown much more powerful than Ares, and she couldn't understand why Ares would think he could still make Yi Wu his apostle. She didn't know if Ares was just immature or overconfident. However, seeing him behave as he always did made her smile. She could imagine watching Yi Wu moving towards greater and loftier achievements, and her eyes gleamed brightly. Open corner bracket master. There are many others around. Make sure to keep those two safe. Open corner bracket all right. After receiving his orders, Shannon quietly blended into the shadows. Yi Wu walked towards Cisseus, who was still immobile. Vigrid cried out softly in Yi Wu's hand. Erng. Vigrid seemed immensely satisfied with Yi Wu's thoughts. Yi Wu hadn't separated from the demonism yet since there were so many divine beings running around in Tartarus. Besides, the demonism did not want to leave. This was the kind of situation he wanted in the first place. The demonism probably wants me to devour as many divine beings as possible. The demonism's condition was that he would take all the egos of all the divine beings Yi Wu devoured, just as he'd taken the crawling chaos ego. Yi Wu could not shake the feeling that something was wrong, but he didn't know what the demonism was up to. However, if he agreed to this single condition, Yi Wu could operate with the demonism while still retaining his consciousness and ego. He also calculated that his power would increase enough from devouring the divine beings that he might be able to overpower the demonism. However, all of these thoughts disappeared when Yi Wu saw Athena's injuries. The only thing he could think of was to chase Cisseus and the Gigantes out of Tartarus. His eyes were calm and collected and his actions purposeful despite his burning anger. Boom! After taking a step forward, Yi Wu's figure blurred. Then, he appeared right in front of Cisseus. Open hollow corner bracket pompous bastard. As Vigrid appeared near his head, Cisseus frowned. Though he was still afraid, Cisseus was infuriated that Athena, whom he had been about to conquer, had shown her vulnerable side to Yi Wu. As Cisseus released all his powers, he finally freed himself from the restrictions of Yi Wu's divine speech. Rumble. His flaming sword thrust upwards. Clash. Full of magic power, Vigrid not only shattered Cisseus' sword but also continued its downward trajectory to slice Cisseus' right arm off. Rip. Open hollow corner bracket arg. My arm. Cisseus' severed arm flew into the air. The red veins in Cisseus' eyes started bulging. You shouldn't cry so much about losing one arm. Open hollow corner bracket eye. As if he couldn't take any more, Cisseus swung at Yi Wu with his left hand. The flames bursting from his fingertips created a large explosion, and the earth was turned over as a fire pillar shot up from the ground below Yi Wu's feet. Cisseus used the explosion to distract Yi Wu as he retreated quickly. Although he seemed emotional, he was coldly analyzing the current situation, and he concluded that he would lose to Yi Wu if he continued fighting. It was too dangerous to battle this human or whatever mutant it was. Although he was filled with bitterness that Ares and Athena were escaping right in front of his eyes, now that he knew where they were, it wouldn't be difficult to find them again. He thought it would be more prudent to retreat for now and discuss the next steps with Persephone. This time around, he swore to pay attention and find out more about Yi Wu. However, he heard Yi Wu's terror-inducing voice behind him. Where do you think you're going? Slice. Open hollow corner bracket ah. This time, Cisseus' left leg was cut off at the knee. As it flew in the air, Cisseus didn't even have time to cry out further as Vigrid struck again and again. Swish, 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 bam. Yi Wu made quick work of Cisseus' remaining limbs. Although Cisseus tried to release a variety of divine skills to save himself, they bounced off Vigrid's powerful strikes harmlessly. Cisseus found himself falling into despair. Finally, Yin Wu stabbed him in the abdomen. Cisseus couldn't even cry out in pain. His screams and cries were stuck in his throat. The sword thunder that Yin Wu had applied to Vigrid not only incinerated Cisseus' holy powers within Cisseus, they destroyed his entire being. Losing his ability to even voice his pain meant that he'd been seriously injured. Open hollow corner bracket S. As he tried to force out words, his holy power leaked faster than he could gather it back. He couldn't speak at all. Yin Wu looked at Cisseus, the corner of his lips raised. I've sent Typhon ahead, so you shouldn't be lonely. Cisseus' eyes widened at the news that Typhon had succumbed. Hades' spirit-eating sword is consuming. Yin Wu gripped Cisseus' head firmly. Arg, Hades' spirit-eating sword consumed the screaming Cisseus quickly. Once Yin Wu confirmed that Cisseus had been completely devoured, he got to his feet, supporting himself with Vigrid. The troops following Cisseus seemed to have already fallen to Shannon and Yin Wu's other familiars since everything was quiet. Yin Wu was about to announce that the coast was clear when Athena suddenly jumped into his arms. Unsure what was happening, Yin Wu instinctively returned the embrace. A smile spread on his face as he gently patted Athena's back. He seemed to be consoling her, letting her know that there wasn't anything left to worry about. Rumble. The rumblings from the clash between the Titans and Gigantes at the temple of the king of the underworld reverberated, and the battle scenes seemed to come straight out of the old legends. The Titans, who could expand in size, picked up entire mountains to throw at the Gigantes. Fierce winds blew and wreaked havoc on Tartarus as they showed off their immense power. The Gigantes countered the Titans' attacks and focused on tiring out their opponents. A few of the Gigantes stood out from the rest. Open hollow corner bracket fall. Boom. A few of the 8 great gods of the Gigantes displayed their immense powers, throwing down lightning bolts and fireballs while using divine speech. Since they served under Persephone, Mother Earth had blessed them and given them the task of ruling over Olympus once the 12 Olympians fled. Although Typhon and Cisseus were missing, the rest of the great gods amply demonstrated how powerful the Gigantes were. They had lost their ownership of the temple and no longer controlled the holy territories, but the Gigantes still had a tremendous amount of power in Tartarus because of Mother Earth's blessing and influence. It seemed that they would soon have the temple of the king of the underworld within their grasp. However, Persephone's attacks were the most shocking and overwhelming. Whoosh! She didn't move around the battlefield, and her powerful aura exerted so much pressure that none of the Titans could approach her, allowing her forces to attack as they wished. Eyes opened in the shadows that swirled around her ankles. The shadows spread through the battlefield like tentacles, the eyes within the shadows moving to designated areas and pulling themselves upright. The shadows formed hundreds of black thorns and began attacking the Titans. Open hollow corner bracket ah. The pain-filled screams and cries of the Titans shook the sky. The black thorns relentlessly attacked the Titans and inflicted incredible damage. Although the Titans tried to clear the black thorns, they couldn't withstand the poison that had seeped inside their bodies, and they found it increasingly difficult to move. Open hollow corner bracket Hydra's venom. How did they? A single drop of Hydra's venom could disable and even kill lower-level gods. How did the Gigantes and their forces manage to obtain and utilize this poison? They could only make guesses. The Hydra was one of Typhon's monstrous offspring, and perhaps Typhon had provided the poison. However, Hercules had already killed the Hydra eons ago. The black thorn's poison also included more than just Hydra's venom, it also mixed in Nemean lion's fangs, Chimera's flame, and other substances. Mother Earth's divine power combined all these elements together and infused the black thorns with them. Nothing is impossible for our great Mother Earth. Persephone laughed out loud. SS's. The Titans' bodies were ravaged from the inside as the various divine powers rapidly spread. Open hollow corner bracket. So it is Mother Earth is finally using the world tree. Close hollow corner bracket. A Titan managed to say a few words before becoming dust and scattering in the wind. How dare you try to read our Mother Earth's thoughts? Such an unworthy being. That is why unbelievers like you cannot be saved even after death. HMPH. Persephone looked at the dead Titan with contemptuous eyes. She clucked her tongue and moved the shadow to its next target. She continued to direct the shadows on the battlefield, making it easier for the Gigantes to hunt down the Titans. She could change the tide of battle just with her presence, and she also controlled the channel with the other hard-working great gods, guiding the Gigantes to an advantageous position in the war. However, Persephone's frown did not let up. Their overwhelming amount of combat power allowed the Gigantes to gain the advantage, but they still made little progress in capturing the temple of the king of the underworld because of their enemy's strong defense. It was a huge loss to lose control over the center of Tartarus. That child, Athena, is the answer to regaining the upper hand. Mother Earth had always struggled to break free from the limitations of being a conceptual god. A concept was an embodiment of a natural law, which could be said to be truth itself. All transcendental beings longed for the seat of a conceptual god, but to Mother Earth, it was simply a shackle. She had birthed the entire world, and she had no desire to be locked up behind a concept. She desired power commensurate with her hard work, which meant power over all dimensions in the universe. However, many gods and demons suppressed Mother Earth since they would not tolerate an absolutely powerful being. Mother Earth believed that she'd been suppressed and defeated because she was a conceptual god. Since she dealt with concepts, there was a limit to her ability to exert physical power and reason logically. So, after much deliberation, Mother Earth decided to take special countermeasures. The first was to transcend the limits of her reasoning by possessing and acting through an alter ego. Thus, after a long search, Mother Earth chose someone compatible with her, Viera. When Viera invaded her using a soul stone, Mother Earth allowed it to happen. Therefore, Mother Earth, who wanted an alter ego, and Viera, who longed to reach higher places of power, made a contract with each other. Together, Mother Earth and Viera could have a clearer will based on reason. It was around this time that Mother Earth began to reappear in the world in earnest and reveal her ambitions. She strengthened Persephone and captured Olympus, and under the pretext of bringing Alpharon down, she interacted more frequently with the godly societies. In addition, she broke the first pact and tried to partner with the crawling chaos, an attempt that ended in failure. However, despite this misstep, she continued to progress smoothly. Unfortunately, to fully manifest, she had to acquire a vessel or a physical body. Even though she possessed an ego, she would remain restricted as a conceptual god. What Mother Earth wanted the most was complete freedom from the constraints of the law of causality and the law of nature. She needed a sturdy vessel, and she had chosen Sesha at first. However, the Devil Army, who wanted the child for their own purposes, kept interrupting her, and in the end, Yi and Wu had defeated them all. She tried to use the half-dragon Ananta as another vessel, but this also ended in failure when Yi and Wu broke into Walpurgisnacht. In the end, she was forced to try to create a vessel instead, and she tried to use the Elohim clan as guinea pigs. However, even that failed. Yi and Wu was the problem. He always got in the way every time she tried to do something, and she couldn't help being angered by his opposition. Mother Earth possessed Viera-Dun's ego, but the Viera-Dun no longer existed. To attain higher levels of power, Viera-Dun had fundamentally changed, and she couldn't even recall any memories of her mortal life. Even so, Yi and Wu hadn't let go of his grudges and blocked Mother Earth's efforts at every turn. It annoyed Mother Earth, but since Yi and Wu was a successor of the Black King, he could not be ignored. Mother, you're so obsessed with the king of the underworld, who has the same background as Heaven Wing. It's probably because they possess clues about the Black King. Mother Earth especially desired the powers of the Black King. In the meantime, she had not given up on obtaining a vessel, and her next target was Athena. As soon as Persephone confirmed that Athena had returned to Tartarus, Mother Earth ordered Persephone to send out Cisseus to capture Athena and bring her back alive. Mother Earth had singled out Cisseus because she knew about his obsession with Athena. Athena, once I get my hands on her, things will go smoothly. As she thought about this, Persephone felt the strongest channel connected to her cut off abruptly. Click, it was her channel with Cisseus. Athena had defeated him. She'd believed that it would be impossible for Cisseus to lose to Athena, and she'd stopped guiding him. She quickly read the remnants of the vestiges that Cisseus left behind and discovered who had killed him, Yi and Wu. Cisseus' last memory was of Yi and Wu's smirk. Persephone was incredibly humiliated. It felt as though Yi and Wu was smirking at her. In fact, she was sure that this was a message for her. There was no way Yi and Wu did not know that she would see this. Persephone could not contain her anger and trembled visibly. Cain, it's you again. Persephone exploded in anger. This guy always interfered with Mother Earth's various plans, had taken Typhon's life, and now this. Persephone recalled how Yi and Wu rejected her offer to negotiate a truce. She felt the humiliation of that time creeping up on her once more. No, not to the likes of you. Since the current situation showed no signs of improving, Persephone felt that she had to take other measures. Rumble. Suddenly, the entire area, including the temple, shook violently. It was not a simple earthquake, and all the gods on the battlefield, including Persephone, froze. They quickly looked around with fearful, wary eyes. The gigantes were stupefied. On the other hand, the titans cheered. It was the unimaginable pressure of many supreme gods preparing to manifest at the same time. Boom! Suddenly, the ground in front of the temple collapsed, and a large ridge suddenly rose up. It was a terrifying supreme god who had transformed into a monster with over 100 hands and 50 heads. Briareos! Persephone cried out in astonishment and fear as she saw the most powerful monster among the Hecatoncheires appear. It was the offspring of Uranus and Gaia, conceived at the beginning of time. When Zeus rebelled, the Hecatoncheires had taken Zeus' side and led Zeus to victory. They later took roles as sentinels to watch over the Titans. Persephone couldn't understand why these monstrous beings were now appearing after such a long time. Dia sat on Briareos' biggest head, looking at Persephone with a sly smile. It was only then that Persephone realized that the Titans had not rebelled without a plan. If Briareos and the other Hecatoncheires took the Titans' side, the battle would turn into a stalemate. Persephone could not figure out why the Hecatoncheires had taken the side of their enemies. However, the battle had just grown so perilous that a single mistake might mean not only failing to take the temple but also receiving so much damage that they would be forced to retreat. At that moment, she saw Thea flying towards her. Persephone's face stiffened, and she flew to meet Thea. Black shadow thorns rose like porcupine quills and shot out at the Hecatoncheires. Boom! A powerful storm raged as the two goddesses collided.